Yeah, well,
good evening. We're running a little bit late, so again, the invitation is for all present to join in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. That done, I will open the work agenda of the November 9th, 2017 Milton and Selectmen combined budget meetings. I'll open ours by doing roll call and just shout out your name, starting at my left.
Erin Hutchings.
Peg Hurt.
Bob Carrier.
Laurie Brown.
Sean Perot.
Stan Niddle.
Dennis Wyatt.
Quorum here. Selectmen?
Yes, I'll make a motion to open the budget committee meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
I did that. You want to take the Selectmen?
I'm sorry, yes, Selectman Lawson and Selectman Tebow.
Nobody, what are you saying? You want to open the selectors meeting, not the budget committee?
Oh, I did.
Oh, all right.
I just did.
Yeah, I heard you.
Selectmen budget.
Did I miss something?
You said budget.
Oh, I said budget. Okay, I'm sorry.
Everybody here knows what they're here for. Two things, and that is one, to thank Bob Carrier, working with Danielle for the budget committee minutes of last Thursday, which we'll be looking over. And the other thing is in terms of a question I think Dennis had regarding the constitution of how the budget committee is set up, who is part of it, and what their responsibilities are. Basically, statute has the budget committee as elected at-large members and members chosen by other entities, school district, board of selectmen, and the water district, each of which may choose their own representative and may choose or decline participation according to their needs. So that's how things are set up. And I apologize personally because I had a wicked case of overuse muscle syndrome, which you will find filed right under childbirth, for standing on ladders and chainsawing down more maple trees than I wanted. If I am slower than dirt, it's because I'm slower than dirt. If there's a problem on what I'm asking you to do, just speak up and tell me I'm wrong. Tonight we have on the budget in order, we have department budget presentations from the Board of Selectmen for police, fire, assessing, emergency management, welfare, and library. Library is last at nominal 7:30 because Betsy has other responsibilities. And then we'll do the approval of the minutes, any other business, and set up and talk about our next meeting of Tuesday, November 21st. So, if any other preliminary comments from the committee itself?
Just one thing, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to have the cell phones either lowered or shut off.
Oh.
It's distracting.
Yeah. Off or vibrate. If the death of your pet schnauzer is coming in on the phone, please take it outside. In order, the presentations are beginning with police. Do the selectman or town administrator have any comments to bring before Chief Kraus starts his presentation? No? Okay. Sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, would you like to go line by line?
I believe the interest of the committee will be line by line. We have had, from my being present at various meetings, I am mildly familiar with line by line, but for people listening, this may be the first time they hear it, and everybody should get a sense of the amount of time and backstreet work that has gone into what you're presenting tonight. Yes.
Okay, everyone should have a copy of the budget presentation. So we'll start at line 4210110. That's a full-time salary line. Full-time salary line is $473,784.72. This line covers the 7 full-time positions other than myself. It has their salary lines in it, holiday pay, shift differential 1, shift differential 2, overtime, and court pays. It explains, you can see the definition in there, what SD1 and SD2s are. Overtime is obviously time and a half. This line is an increase due to it is the step for each officer's that is built into our budgets. Any questions about that line?
Chief, so for the step, is that merit-based or tenure, or how is that?
The step is based off of tenure.
Okay, thank you.
The step is, for the police department, is different than the step for town. If you look at it, you'll see that it's actually only 2% instead of the 3.7% that the town is giving to their employees.
Thank you.
So when you promoted a couple individuals last week,
Yep.
is that part of the STEP program, or is that in addition to the STEP?
No, so they'll jump up to line 1. So as you can see on the step plan the copy of the step plan that I gave you, the yellow highlighted are the only ones that were part of the step through the town warrant article in 2014. All others fall under the vote. So if there is a step put in that we're trying to get, the step wouldn't go through unless the vote passes in March. But when someone gets promoted, they get moved up to step number 1 of whatever position they get moved into.
Is this step plan still taking care of the town as far as keeping officers? Or is that going to be an issue again that we need to address in the future?
We're not losing officers due to pay. The 2 officers we lost this year, one left and went to Pennsylvania, and the other officer got out of law enforcement. The problem we're running into is there are not a lot of certified officers that we can get to fill the open positions we have, because everybody else in the state is in the same predicament we are in needing police officers. There's not a big pool of certified officers to pull from, and then there's not even a really big pool of uncertified people to pull from. The last test we did, we sent out 108 letters. We got 12 back. Only 8 people showed up to the PT test, and only 3 of them passed it. So unfortunately, the pool that we have to pull officers from is not great right now.
So we'll be addressing this in a couple of years, I'm sure.
I don't think so. We are, with the step plan, we can compete with almost any agency in the state. With that said, after ours got passed in 2014,
People
a
adjust.
large number of PDs called and said they wanted a copy of it because they were taking it back to, some of the unions got it to take it through their deliberative sessions and through their union contracts. So at this point, we are still middle of the road. Hopefully we won't fall backwards.
Then, any other question or, sorry, any other question, comment, request regarding this budget?
Just that line or the whole budget?
No, just that, yeah, I'm sorry. I told you I was slow as dirt on that line. Next.
Next line is 120, which is part-time salaries. We're requesting $12,000 for that line. That line pays for the 3 part-time positions that we have for the town. We have 2 positions that will be covering Marine Patrol, and we have the town's chaplain, which we pay half of the year for. We also pay for the chaplain if she has to come out for any services that the police department requests. That line was $9,000 last year due to lack of use. We're going to see an increase of use next year with the three people and the use of the chaplain. The chaplain will do 4 hours a week services for our officers, for any other town employee that may need to have a conversation with the chaplain. It's basically office hours. The fire chief and I are splitting the year, so I'll have to do 26 weeks of it, and the fire department will do the other 26 weeks of the 4 hours. With the second Marine Patrol officer, my expectation and my plan is to have that officer have that go on the water just like we were back in 2014 and before. So that line has a $3,000 increase, just to get back to where we were prior to last year.
Again. Next. Any other question, observation? Yes, sir.
Okay. Next line is 121, administrative assistant. That line is $40,352. That's a $1,435 increase, which is the 3.7% increase at the request of the Board of Selectmen. The 2% merit and the 1.7% COLA.
For information, Tom McDougall, entering. Welcome.
Next line is retention and longevity, 122. That line has stayed the same as 2017, it's $2,500. This line is after the warrant article passed in 2014. This line used to be for all employees at the police department for longevity. Now it is solely for the administrative assistant, as she wasn't part of the warrant article in 2014. The 2,500 is a number that encompasses the whole lifetime of that longevity plan. It's not a $2,500 stipend every year. It builds up to it, but it's just a number. Instead of having that number fluctuate, anything that's left in that line goes back to the community every year. Next line is 123, which is chief salary.
The next line is the chief's salary, and that line is $82,586.40, and that is an increase of $1,507.40, and that is part of this PD step plan. And for our chief of police, I think that we all know that's a bargain. The amount of hours, time, effort, and dedication he puts into this community, we're very lucky to have him.
Next one is 144, grant line. That's $5,000, no change over 2017. You'll see in the expenditure report, nothing has been spent out of that line as of this point. We waited until we just received information back from the federal government on our bullet-resistant vest grant that we applied for. We've now received that, so we'll be using that grant line to purchase 7 new vests to replace the vests that have expired for the officers. The federal government pays half of the cost of the vests, which are $875 a piece. So,
Actually, Chief, according to the expenditure report, you have $9,348.50 in there. It says a negative. You're gonna have to check that line. There's something wrong with it. A negative year-to-date, negative 4348.50.
No budgets for
so I can tell you exactly what that error is. That error is a carryover from last year when we purchased items we purchased the computers in the cars and the printer systems and everything else. The grant that we received, we actually received it in 2016. We didn't get the equipment because we were waiting for the equipment to come in and have it installed until in 2017, and for some reason that was not.
Shouldn't that been covered though?
The hours was encumbered. When the grant money came back in, the grant money should have gone into 2016, but it looks like it went into the 2017 line.
Alright. So that can be fixed.
Yep. So the only expenditure you should see out of that line is the $887 for the first vest that we've purchased and paid for.
To interrupt and say again, what you are hearing at home is one more use of having the additional set of eyes of the Budget Committee going over the expenditures and just making sure that numbers jump around and go through the wrong places less than they do. And I like that. But thank you. Next. Yes, sir.
Next line is 220, which is FICA. FICA increased due to salary of $274.97 for a total of $3,697.82. Next line is 225, which is Medicare. Medicare increased $225.24 for a total of $8,927.99. Those increased based on salary. Next line would be 230, which is retirement. Retirement increased $15,023.62 to a total of $167,271,062. So the big increase for retirement is due to the fact that we will be at a full year of the 29.43%. So in 2016, we were at 26.38%. As of July 1st of 2017, we increased from the 26.38% to the 29.43%. In 2018, we'll have to pay the entire year at 29.43%. So with increases in salary and then increase in the percentage that we have to pay, that's why that's such a big increase.
Chief, to ask a question, so
Yep.
that's like mandated by the state?
Correct.
Thank you.
So that number comes from the state, and we don't have the option to opt out.
Yep, just want to clarify for everyone at home, because I'm
Any,
sure people are like, ooh.
Any other comment? That notice that the number for the state participation is going down. The number for the town participation is going up. And if you are looking for a quick definition of what downshifting of state general fund obligation means, you look at those two percentages and you just do the simple math. 26%, 29%, 3% more the town is paying because the state is not using its vast general revenues to cover it. Next.
Next line is 240, which is training. This is $5,000. There's no increase over that line. Training pays for anytime we have to purchase ammunition, anytime we have to purchase targets or anything like that. It also pays for if we have to send an officer to out-of-state training due to the fact that there is not a comparable training here within the police academy.
Can I ask you though, you only expect 570 for the year. Are you expecting bills to come in?
We're going to purchase ammunition. We usually purchase our ammunition at the end of the year, so I know exactly how much I have at the end of the year.
Any rough idea what that value is going to be?
I don't know. I have to get a count from my officers on what that's going to cost me. Next line is 243, which is hiring and testing. That line is $500. There's no increase to that line. That allows us to pay for medical testing, psychological testing for officers when we hire them, which is a requirement. That amount basically lets us hire 1.5 officers. So if we have to hire more than one officer, officer, then we're usually end up paying, we're going over on that line, which is, this year we will go over on that line.
Next.
Next line is 290, which is uniforms. That's $6,000, no increase over 2017 in that line. That line is kind of self-explanatory. It pays for uniforms for the officers. To outfit a new officer, usually a new full-time officer, usually costs about $2,500. That's with 2 short sleeve shirts, 2 long sleeve shirts, and 2 pairs of pants, as well as the duty gear that we have to wear. I'm sure all of you are aware that 2 short sleeve shirts and 2 pairs of pants to wear 365 days a year is not really helpful when you're trying to stay professional and not have it torn and ripped and everything else. We do have some of our officers that, because of turnover and things like that, we haven't been able to get them full uniform replacements every year.
So you're saying you don't feel there's enough money in that line?
I do not feel there's enough money in that line. I think we should at least be giving our officers at least $750. We should be able to at least block away $750 for each officer to be able to replace different pieces of their uniform and their equipment, their duty belts, things like that. Duty belts are usually $110 to $120. The holsters that we use for our firearms are $140 a piece. Each different thing is very expensive, so when they get torn up, the guys have to wait until the end of the year. If I have money left over because I didn't expend it on hiring new people, then that's what we do. But because it's $6,000 and we have to hire, when we have to hire new people, like I have an open position right now, so I can't spend all of that money. I have to have money set aside for my uniform line to be able to uniform that.
So the $6,000 represents $750 per officer and yourself?
It would, no. I mean, $700 per officer would be 8 officers, so you'd be at about $5,600. That leaves you $400 left for whatever you have to outfit later on.
Stan, have you done the math on what the police department budget increase represents as a percentage?
Well, I can tell you real quick, it's up $26,950.96.
And that percentage?
2.8.
But the only reason I can say real quick is, well, actually, yeah, the chief did it for me. He already had that all down bottom there. So, but I don't want to take the credit that quick. But my logic here is I'm the first one to try to take the fat out of something. But when someone comes to town, and unfortunately they get stopped or whatever, they see an officer, I don't think they should see an officer with a ripped shirt or not looking professional. I mean, I don't think that sends the right signal, the right message for this town.
Well, our officers do a very good job of keeping their uniforms.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying
No,
is,
I understand what you're saying.
I'm taking your side on this.
Yeah, I know.
And I get accused of taking your side too much, so. But
Somebody does.
I don't know. Myself, I think he should put a legitimate number in for that line, personally. And we're not making motions or anything tonight, but I think that's something that you should readdress in my mind, that line, that one line.
Is there anything else we can pull some money out of?
Well, it's always a bottom line budget. You know what I mean? So it is what it is at the end of the year, but for clarity and transparency, you know, if it takes $1,000 an officer to suit them up, then that's what it takes to look professional and make that town not look like it, you know, back in the woods of Kentucky someplace.
Ipswich.
Ipswich, Mass? Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh, yeah.
But
Sorry.
I mean, that's just my personal thoughts. It's no different than the fire department. When they show up to a scene, they should show up looking professional and not look like they don't have the appropriate tools. You know. But we're not making motions tonight. But I think you could change it tonight if you wanted to.
My plan was not to change it this year. My plan was just to explain to everyone that I do see after being chief for 4 years, I do think that that line is deficient. But my plan was not to change it this year due to the fact that we do have such a big increase in the retirement that we can't control.
Well, that's the key factor. You can't control that. That's state mandated. You know.
But uniform line is a line I can control. So if I have to buy somebody one shirt, then I buy them one shirt. We do what we can with the budget we have in front of us.
which is
And
great,
that's-
but I also, again, I don't want people thinking that this, again, backwoods of Kentucky, you know, and, you know, I'm not saying we should get them 10 years, but
I hear what you're saying. With my budget already being up $26,000, I left it, that line is alone, and we'll come back and reevaluate that line next year.
all right, I'll leave it alone then.
So, that, then for a summary of that line, the Budget Committee agrees that pressures for, on the department for the cost of uniforms and professional presentation are increasing. Next.
Next line is legal services, that's line 320. That's $14,000. There is no increase on that line. That line pays, we pay that line to the Stratford County Sheriff's Department so that we can have a deputy do our prosecution for us for misdemeanors, ordinances, and violations, non-domestic violence misdemeanors.
Is that a yearly contract, or is it by the hour, or how is that?
It's a yearly contract. We pay one block.
So you know what it is gonna be, and that's
Correct, yeah. So you should see on your expenditure report that we had a block payment of $13,000. The $13,000 is for the contract for that service. The other $1,000 is supplies for our prosecution. So if they need supplies, postage to send out letters to victims, postage to send out letters to defendants, things like that.
Mhm.
Supplies is in folders, envelopes, paper, those types of things, is the other $1,000.
Okay. Yes, sir. Next.
Next line is contracted services. That line has an increase of $893 for $22,263. Contracted services pays for our Seacoast Security, which is our alarm monitoring system, Verizon Wireless, which is our wireless cards for our cruisers, so our MDTs can access our server, MetroCast, which is business speed at the PD for our server to work, Stratford County Dispatch, which is dispatching services, and then you'll see a second Stratford County Dispatch on there, which is the IMC licensing service. A few years ago, when we updated our server, we put a base server at the dispatch center, and we all have connectivity to that base server. It saves us a little bit of money, but also allows us to be one big block dispatch location, so it allows us better communication with other communities.
Define IMC, please.
It's a record management system.
Oh, that's their name.
The IMC, yes.
Okay, like Joe Blow, yeah.
Correct, yeah, that's
IMC.
the company's name, is IMC, it's Record Management System.
Can I get you to repeat what you said the increase was?
Should be
I got
$893.
I got 1393. A change of 1393 in that line.
Should be,
Went from 2017 at 21,370 to 22,763.
no, you're right, I just didn't update my packet. It is 13.
Someone else says I'm right. Imagine that.
You're a roll stand tonight.
I hope my wife will watch it on TV.
We're doomed, it's on tape.
It's the, yeah, so my packet didn't have the increase of the Cocheco Valley Humane Society, that was left out when I,
So the 1393 is the true.
1393 is the true number.
Thank you, Stan.
So I just have one comment. I sent you an email
Yeah.
asking about the licenses. I noticed that you have Kaspersky on here.
Yep.
I would be concerned about installing that on any servers because the DHS, the FBI, and the CIA have all mandated that federal servers have to have that removed off their machines.
Have to have Kaspersky removed?
Yeah. So you might want to talk to your consulting firm to make sure that they use something
They'll
different.
apply to do that Russian.
Yeah, they're a Russian-based firm,
So,
that's why.
Maybe we'll do a free bike club.
Yeah,
Good thing it expires in 45 days.
yeah, so. I have some ideas if you want to talk afterwards.
Yeah, I'm sure that our computer person will probably be giving me a phone call because he also works. He does computer work for us, but he also works for the federal government, so.
Then you
I'm
would
sure I'll
know.
get a phone call.
Awesome, okay, good to hear.
You'll also see postage on there. That is a $1,000 new line that postage was removed from the police department's budget, I believe, in 2012, and put back into the town administrator's budget. That line has now been put back into the police department's line through contracted services. The $1,000 number is a placeholder. I can't tell you exactly how much postage we send out because that was never paid for out of my budget, so I don't know what it costs to track it.
We kicked him out of town hall.
I don't know why it was at town hall to begin with, but that was a decision made by previous town administrators. So you'll see Norton 360, that does our internet computers as well as our MDTs. Taser and or /evidence.com, that is storage for our body camera footage. You'll see Stratford County on there again for SWAT dues. We do this, SWAT dues are so that we can, and it shouldn't say SWAT dues, it should probably say SWAT equipment. When we need to purchase items such as tear gas or flashbangs or any other equipment that we need for the SWAT team, it is spread out through the communities that are part of the SWAT team to pay for that, instead of relying on, when the SWAT team needs something, coming to departments and saying, hey, we need to pay for this. Anybody find any money in their budget to pay for it? We have this so that way there's a little bit of money there to purchase items that they need to purchase every single year.
I have a question on postage. Anyone can answer. My ideal for postage would be a machine that automatically assigns a code to anybody who wants to get a printed envelope from it.
Yeah.
That does it by month, spits it out by month and year summary, and if that is in place, why does there still seem to be this back and forth convolution for whose postage is coming from what line?
Because we all have different machines. I have a postage machine at the police department, they have a postage machine here, and I believe Nick has a, you don't have a postage machine? No.
But he's up there, and if Doreen's mailing, he's mailing stuff up there. It's not down here.
And the machines do not all use the same electrons?
If you don't reset your machine, then it just keeps
adding
tallying
up,
over multiple years.
or months.
Then,
And we found this out the hard way, I assume.
Yes.
Correct.
then
That's
that's
what our problem is.
then that's a defect of the ability of the machine to serve the town needs by not printing out a. I want a December 1st printout electronically from the machine who can stay up all night without overtime. And tells me each department what their postage was. So at the end of the year, I have one piece of paper, 6 departments, what they actually used in real time. And no machine is out there that does that.
All right.
Then there may be, I don't think we've researched that.
Sean?
I'm not opposed to it, ma'am.
My guess would be you would find it to be cost prohibitive for a small town. I'm certain it exists, but I bet it'd be cost prohibitive.
There may be, I just don't think.
Well, another brilliant idea shot down by reality. Thank you, I'm sorry.
I think by going back into each department's line, we'll be able to better track and we'll be able to better know how much money we're going to need for postage. It's unfortunate that was ever taken out and put in back into the town administrator's line. It's just something that was, and like I said, it's before many of us. So.
Thank you. Onward.
Other part of contracted services is CGIS compliance, licensing and key fobs, the Kaspersky antivirus, which we'll be reviewing that, and Chico Valley Humane Society for border services. So with Cachico Valley, we have a contract with them to take the stray animals from town or the loose animals from town that we can't hold at the police department in our kennel. They charge us an annual fee up front, and then there's a fee of $50 per animal that is brought down there.
Who pays that $50?
The town pays it, and then there's a transporting fee that is attached to the resident who owns the dog when they pick their dog up.
Get it out of jail?
Well, then they also have to pay a fee to Cachico for getting the dog out of jail. Yeah, they have to bail their dog.
Not much more
I
cognizant.
was gonna say that.
It is poor animals.
Tell your dog to get back in the yard.
Try to fence in here. You won't miss Michael.
Yes, I'm sorry, any other question? Then, in the absence of a question, just please continue.
I'm okay.
Okay, next line is legal ads and notices, $100. There's no increase on that. That's if we have to do any notices to the newspaper that are required by RSA. If we had to do an evidence auction or a property auction, we would have to do notification in the newspaper for an ad. Next line is $395, which is veterinary and professional services. This line is to, if we have a dog or a cat that gets struck by a vehicle, the dog or cat is not fatally injured, or the injuries do not appear that they're going to be fatal, then we can bring the animal to the emergency vet. The town covers the upfront cost until we can locate the owners, and then once we can locate the owners pay the cost. If for some reason the owners did not pay that cost, then we would have to go, if they don't pay the town back that cost, then we'd have to go after them civilly. I don't believe in my career we've ever had a situation where the owners of the animal did not repay the cost. But we still have to have some money in the budget to be able to set that aside. Professional services can also be for multi-agencies trainings if we have to buy supplies, or refreshments for multi-agency trainings, or for large departmental trainings that we include other departments within town, the fire department, the highway department, things like that, and we'll supply those as well out of that line. Next line is 410, electricity, $7,200. That line is an increase of $500 over 2017. The average approximate usage for the police department this year is about $570, which will bring you just below that $7,200. My expectation is next year we're going to see an increase in electricity, and we're going to probably be higher than that $570 per month.
Yes.
Next line is 420, which is heating, propane for the police department. This does the heat for the building. It also does the hot water for the building. This line decreased $1,000 due to usage and the new multi-year contract that the police department and fire department entered into with Eastern Propane to get us a better rate. $3,000 gives us 2.5 fill-ups of the 1,000-gallon tank on the police department's property.
Next.
Next line is telephone, line 450, which is $3,700. No increase on that line. This pays for telephone services within the police department as well as the two cruiser subs.
Nope, I saw your finger moving.
I'm thinking three things at once here.
Anyone else? Next.
Okay, next line is 610, printing. That is $600. There's no increase over that line. That line pays for department letterhead, envelopes, business cards for our officers.
Next.
Next line is 620, which is supplies, $6,000. No increase over that line. Line pays for paper, ink for printers, other than our main copier, batteries for cameras, automatic defibrillator, paper towels, toilet paper, evidence bags, rubber gloves, scene tape. My administrative assistant does a very good job of purchasing through multiple different companies to find the lowest price so we can get the best.
Yeah, this is a question I have specific to that line. And I'm also going to address it to Chief Marek as well. On the supplies, in your case particularly, is this specifically for police-related items or just consumable items and police items? Like you're saying defibrillator, paper towels, and toilet paper. I'm saying, can you break this down so that the actual specific police department items that you need be separated from consumable items? The reason I ask this is because when you're looking at $6,000 of supplies, I'm thinking there might be a way to reduce that to the take the consumables, separate it out. And I'm gonna suggest this to Nick as well, so that we can bring that line down.
We had a meeting today with Staples, and we signed up to get a discount with them for some of our consumable items. And I believe we're gonna get 29% discount on a lot of the consumables going forward. All the departments signed up for today.
Okay.
So going forward, we will be getting a
So
discount.
will you be establishing new line items for the consumable
Well,
versus?
you can take advantage of it if you want to.
No, absolutely.
Your Noreen was here.
Well, that's how the budget is formatted. There's no
Oh, you're
difference
good.
about it.
Well, if you want to order with us, then you can. It's an advantage you get to do that. You don't have to.
Okay.
Trying to help her.
So no,
Dennis?
we do not separate the consumables of paper towels and things like that. Like I said, my secretary goes through multiple different companies, finds the cheapest rate, and that's how she purchases those items.
So, I guess that's a policy issue. I want to have it at a later date, because it seems like as if there might be even more efficient way of doing this, and then to have you order your consumables, Nick order his consumables, and Pat ordering his consumables. So I'm thinking there's a way to reduce that. So maybe that's a policy decision that has to be made.
Well, I think we talked about that, but one of them, they looked at where we were buying them and came up with a discounted plan.
Okay.
Is it a good assumption that, like, when you said the batteries and defibrillators, that they're probably not just a standard D battery or something like that?
They're the lithium batteries, but I think our defibrillators take 14.
And there's a rechargeable, not a rechargeable, but like a sealed battery, and then there's
There's
also
A pack.
there's a battery pack and
and then the
regular
lithium batteries.
Right.
lithium
So it's
batteries.
not go to Cumberland Farms and pick up a battery.
No.
So that's probably more on the expensive side rather than,
Well, each defibrillator takes, I think, 14 of the lithium batteries.
like, added cost of up top of the engine,
I don't
idea.
have a-
Just to try to help Dennis break this down a little more.
I want to say that if you got a couple $100 if you need to replace the battery pack in that thing.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, but.
And how many defibrillators do we have?
2 for the police department. What do you have on your rings?
2 in this building, 1 at the highway, Town Beach, and
Just-
the fire department probably has 5.
And just for Dennis's purposes, to get an idea what the bigger items are in that line, that's all.
Well, and rubber gloves, things like that. We purchase specific rubber gloves for the police department through seeing companies that are going to be a little bit better than what we would buy through even just like a simple medical company.
Okay. That, on the general discussion, if you have 5 defibrillators, each one of them has 10 lithium batteries, or 14, you're looking at 70 batteries. Give them a dollar cost of $10 each because they're specialized lithium batteries. You're looking at $700, which is automatically a big chunk of your $6,000 for disposables. The other discussion, which might not have come through clearly on our microphone system, is that with the work of the town administrator and the input from the department heads, there is now a plan in place with a 29% discount from Staples for those consumable supplies, paper and related. So that is something which may, on the basis of playing, is it J.W. Mason? They got some initials.
WB.
WB Mason.
Yes.
WB Mason may want to wake up and smell the coffee down the road, and there's still some possibilities of further savings, but I'm sure that both fire and police will be discussing the help that Staples can provide them. Any other question on that topic? Dennis, do you get a sense that things are
I'm good for now.
moving? Any other question? Aaron? Glasses? No, okay.
Next topic. Next topic is vehicle fuel, 640. That line has a $5,000 decrease over 2017, down to $15,000 from $20,000. The last 4 years, the average cost that we've used is $16,837.50. Year to date, as of October 31st, the police department has used $9,022.07 in fuel. My expectation, the reason why I didn't bring it below $15,000 is we don't know what fuel costs are going to cost next year. So I don't want to come all the way down to $12,000 or $13,000. Police fuel prices spike, and the last thing we want to be doing is parking our cruisers and putting mileage restrictions on our officers because we have no money to pay for fuel.
Question, comment? I will just add my own, that what you're seeing on that figure is a review of 5-year trends, which can be very useful for tracking the cost and what is called prudent necessity of not dropping it so far that you park the car and listen to your own police scanner. Next.
Next line is 730, which is vehicle maintenance. That line is $6,000, no increase over that line over last year. This line pays for any vehicle maintenance that we need to have done outside of the town mechanic. It also pays for any parts that the town mechanic may need to do service to our vehicles.
On the lease, there's no maintenance involved in it at all?
Not the police cruiser's lease, no. We have we pay through the lease. We pay for the extended warranty out to 100,000 miles, but we don't put maintenance.
That's just driveline, right? The extended warranty is just
no,
driveline?
it's bumper to bumper. Extended warranty.
But not wearable
200,000.
items?
What's that?
Not wearable items?
Not wearable items, no.
Next.
Next line is 731, which is cruiser purchase lease, which is $31,000, no increase over 2017. This year, 2017, is the final year of our current lease. We will then look to start the lease up again next year and replace 3 of the cruisers, 3 of the 3 frontline cars. The pickup truck, as well as my cruiser, will have extended years put to them. The pickup truck's expectation is to replace in 2019. With mileage, I'm expecting my cruiser to be replaced either 2019 or 2020, based on the number of mileage over the next 2 years.
Is that payment due at the end of the year?
Yes, it is.
Because I see no expenditure on it.
Yeah, should be getting the bill for it probably next week.
Tom?
Will they have to go back on a warrant article for the next lease?
I don't believe so, according to town council, because it is a line item in my budget. I don't believe it had to go to warrant article.
Other questions? None? Next, please.
740, equipment maintenance. That's $3,000. There's no increase in that line. That is for anything that we have to fix that is non-vehicle related. If one of our computers goes down, if one of our MDTs goes down into the cruisers, our body cameras, radios, firearms, tasers, any of those items that we have to replace, that would come out of that $3,000 line. As some of you are aware, the portable radios are $3,800 a piece, and the body cameras are $600 a piece. MDTs are $4,000 a piece.
What's in every team?
The laptops in our cruisers.
You had an easy year this year, so so your assumption is next year won't be so easy?
Well, thankfully, we replaced, with equipment purchase line, we replaced all of the body cameras. We just recently replaced all of those due to the fact that they were coming up to about their 5th year. We were having some significant issues with some of the older ones, not keeping dates and stuff like that, and having some failures. I think we had 4 that were not being used at all due to having some failures.
Was that done by way of a grant, or?
Nope, that's out of our equipment line that we purchased. We purchased them on a lot of the equipment.
It just shows that you, year to date on your other line here, 0.
Yes, so the maintenance line, we didn't send them out to do maintenance on them because they're so old. I knew the answer I was going to get was, you just have to buy a new one. So thankfully, we haven't had to do maintenance to any of the MDTs. We have a couple of computers that need replacement, but we have a revolving account for that. Thankfully, we've had no radios go down. We've had no issue with needing to replace a taser or having a firearm break. We had that a few years ago.
Next.
Next line is 741. This is equipment purchase. This is $6,200. This line has no increase over 2017. As you can see, if we have to actually physically purchase and replace these items, you can see the costs break down for most of them in there.
Does that explain, the explanation you just gave for the last line represents the 9752 that you overspent on this line this year?
Yes. $97.52.
It says 9752 as year-to-date.
Right, but it's only $3,500 over.
Right, yeah, it's 3552 over the budgeted amount, but the year-to-date was 9752.
Yes. Like, holy cow, $9,700 overspent.
Oh, I didn't mean to say it that way. They got overspent, but, you know.
Yes.
42.
742 is equipment lease. This pays for the lease of the postage machine as well as the department's main printer / copier.
$840.
Next line is 840, which is mileage and travel. This is $1,100, no increase over that line. This line is if officers have to take their personal vehicle to training, personal vehicle to court. If they do take it to court, the court reimburses us some of the mileage for the officer using it, the officer's travel to court. You should see minimal spent out of that line so far this year. Thankfully, we've had not a lot of court, and we have the ability to, our cruisers have not been broken down, so we can mandate officers take cruisers to training.
159.60 year-to-date.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good question. Next.
Next line is 850, which is dues and subscriptions. That's the Chiefs of Police Association, National Chiefs of Police Association, and the New Hampshire Officers Association. Those allow us to have other trainings that we can go to at a discounted rate. It also gives us books and things like that they send us for updates on laws and that they lobby for and they pay attention to a lot more ability than we have to.
Question? Yes. Next.
Next line is miscellaneous 890. It has $1 in it, just to keep the line open.
Can you explain the 5,700 that was spent out of that line, though? Yeah. It says year-to-date, 5699.65.
That is probably the hardwired routers that we put into the cars. That was your question that you asked. We got an answer from legal, and according to legal, we had to.
Yeah.
So they took that money from the Humvee out, put it back in the general fund, and then charged my miscellaneous.
It had to come from someplace.
Correct.
It's just a big amount for a $1 line.
Correct.
Hold up.
Yep.
And 891.
891 is educational incentive, $4,500. You can see the breakdown of officers, the stipend that officers get for having college degrees.
Is that due at the end of the year?
It comes out, it just came out last week.
Because it's not on this report.
Yeah.
Okay. Questions either on the last one or any thing that crossed your mind during presentation for the budget itself? Tom.
I hate to go back up to electric, but the expenditure report I have here for TV for line, it's looks like 410. The expenditure report says budgeted was 6,700.
Yeah.
But the other form I have here for your budget breakdown says 7,200. Is that just a typo?
I guess I don't know what form you're looking at.
Electric.
Yes, yeah, I'm assuming that's what it is.
It's what I had here. I don't have a copy of the breakdown that you had. It's
110 electric, you got, that says 60,
It's just a typo on mine.
Yeah.
okay. That's what I thought it was. I just thought I'd.
2016,
Where-
6,700 right here.
Okay, yeah, and then over
then
here there's
2000.
17.
Yeah, that's a
That's it,
typo.
okay.
That's supposed to be
Alright, okay.
6,700.
Okay, all right.
That's in the actual.
That was my guess, but I just thought I'd double check.
Yeah, just a typo.
Can I go back to contracted services, Stratford County SWAT dues, $1,000?
Yep.
Can you explain that again, please?
So we have 2 members on the SWAT team. When the SWAT team has to come out for calls for service, they have flashbangs, they have gas, they have things like that that have to be purchased. The SWAT dues allows us to spread it out over many agencies instead of just one agency trying to pick up the big bill when those items have to be purchased every year. Those items expire yearly and we have yearly costs that we have to replace.
So how is that $1,000 determined? Is that what every department kicks in?
That was a number that we had all decided on last year. That number has changed a little bit. Some departments spend a whole lot more than we spend. That's so we can pay our fair share of the items that are used.
How many departments involved in that?
10.
And it's fair to say that it's at least a $10,000 budget then?
Yes. The cost of those items is significant. I think we had what did we have at the beginning of the year was about a $13,000 increase in cost for those types of items that have expired. And usually how it works is departments, we sit at a chief's meeting and go, okay, who has money that they can help pay for it? And instead of doing that, last year the chiefs decided that instead of doing who can pay for it, let's put a block of money away that pays for what we need to do yearly for this team instead of trying to find money in all of our own budgets to pay for stuff that may pop up. But $500 an officer on the team isn't an issue for us.
Well, like I said, there's other, Dover, whoever,
Dover, Rochester,
they're paying.
they're paying money. And well, Dover and Rochester, unfortunately, they'll pay, Dover, Rochester, Somersworth, some of those agencies will pick up the bigger number.
Right.
That's, in the past, that's what they have done, so.
It's your chip in the pot to play the game.
To have the ability for that team to come out, correct. And like I said, calling it SWAT dues is the wrong way to call it. SWAT equipment is probably how I should have worded it. Because dues makes it sound like we're paying
SWAT
to be
contribution.
on the team. Correct. Dues makes it sound like we're paying to be part of the team. That's not what that is. It's a SWAT contribution.
Excuse, I got a question on the equipment lease.
Yep.
Is that just the copier and the postage machine?
Yes, it should be just those 2 leases.
So that's you got $4,600, but on the town administrator for I believe the same item, she's cut hers back to $2,600 or $2,268.
Let me see these.
Is that also including the postage machine on yours?
Well, we cut ours back here in Town Hall because we eliminated some copiers too.
Right,
We're down to 1.
right, but if he only, how many copiers are there at the police station? I would think they'd only
I
need
have
one.
Yeah.
But mine has 2 different lines. I broke it out into, if you go into mine, it has 2
Yeah.
different lines. He might have lumped his, I have lead financing and then I also have a maintenance line, so it's broken
Okay.
out. So it could be that.
Okay,
So
all right.
I do not have that breakdown of that line with me, but I'll pull it and figure it out.
you might have put your maintenance and your finance line in the same place.
Yeah, my copier lease is just one.
Mine is broken into 2.
It's just one.
Does that, for the question you wanted to ask, does that give you enough information as an answer?
Yeah.
Okay. Then, any other question or comment on the budget as presented from first line to last line? Stan? Oh, okay. Then, is Bob Carey?
What was that number you had, an increase? I didn't put it.
Right on the paper, Bob.
I don't.
Oh, you don't have it? It is 29,000,
I need to go back to it.
$29,450 Oh, $26,000,
26.
$450.96. I know there's a 9 in there, 96.
And the percentage?
Should be
Is it 3, 2.9 something?
2.90.
I don't have it, because I don't have enough room. Can I kind of like cross into something that does have to do with the police officer?
Hang on for a moment. Then, to round, sir,
It's 26,950.96 is the police department's increase.
That was that
50.
$500 that was off on
Oh.
one item.
Yes.
50 and 96 cents.
950.96, yes.
Yes, it is 96 cents is the last part. Then before Stan, my understanding is that the Budget Committee is satisfied with the content and the detail presented, and on a consensus basis, we are looking for the final budget number as detailed with the corrections that have been brought forward for the evening. That okay? Stan, your point.
Just a quick question. The police detail revolving account, that's when the police do they get paid out of that direct, correct? Now, at one time, we also was paying a cruiser out of that, or is that a separate account?
Nope, we buy cruisers out of that line. The plan is to purchase the pickup truck and Cruiser 1 out of that line.
Rather than the lease?
Correct,
All right, so those two units are not covered under the lease?
correct.
All right.
The lease covers the 3 frontline cars. With the creation of the CIP and prior to the CIP, the plan had always been to purchase the pickup truck and then the chief's car out of the detail revolving line. And then the other 3 frontline cars are on the lease because those punch miles very quickly and are getting significantly different wear and tear than what the pickup truck and.
I just was making sure that was still the case.
It is. If you look at the CIP, I don't have my CIP with me, but if you look at the CIP in 2019, it shows replacement of the pickup truck and the original one. And that is still the plan we are moving forward on.
Then, any last other comment from the selectman, from the chief himself, town administrator on the topic of this budget? No, okay.
I have one minor correction.
Sean.
So to clarify to Bob, you know, you want the numbers down there, right? You have
Yep.
the 26,950, right?
96.
Now,
And now it's 2.96%.
okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Get rid of that point.
Then, thank you. Next, fire department. It is the order, is it not?
Yep, it is.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That's right.
I'm just wondering if you can there's one in there closer to the microphone.
Talking about the representative. Should have, this microphone hanging right here.
Oh, right above his head.
He's not. He's at your convenience.
Oh, no,
Me?
Hello?
because I
All right.
stole yours.
Okay, you ready? So I'm going to follow this sheet and kind of go down through, and then we'll go through the packets.
Which sheet?
That page, the first page in the packet,
One Daniel, but
as opposed to the Excel sheet.
thank you.
All right, so a couple things to keep in mind that I'll start off with. One is we have the new station, and January, February, we are operating both stations. So we didn't really budget or plan for that. The other thing is the full-time and part-time lines, one's overspent, one's underspent. We had a 6-month vacancy in a full-time position that was filled with a part-time position. So that's the explanation for that. I guess we can start with the full-time salary. It's $114,047.76, which is a $3,797 increase, and that represents the COLA and the merit raise. We held that line for several years after the retirement of a couple people and a couple senior people leaving, but now that we have a solidified staff, we were pretty good past where we were for the last couple of years. The part-time salary is for the call firefighters and for the assistant chief. And if you look at the breakdown on the part-time salary, the biggest increase is for the call firefighters. I used several months of averages on that. This is page 4. So I did a 1-year period from July to July, and then January to July, and I came up with an average of about $4,000, which equates to $48,000 for the call firefighters' pay. And that does include the chaplain, like Chief Gross talked about, is included in that.
I'm good, thank you.
So when you run the numbers, it comes to $79,282, and I asked for $80,000 just to round that up. The next line
Is elected salary, and that is the fire chief's salary. It's based on 24 hours per week. I think we all know that our chief is available a lot more than 24 hours a week. He's known to text constantly from trees everywhere. The fire chief's position provides a variety of technical, administrative, and supervisory work in planning, organizing, directing, and implementing fire prevention, suppression, emergency medical services. This work is completed by working in the fire station, in addition to responding to emergencies and attending local and regional meetings. He also does a lot of work around here. He's a great asset to the community. We're very lucky to have him. So his rate would go up to $38,660.20, which is a little bit different than it's on the front sheet. There was just a little bit of a typo error, so it's $38,660.
I screwed up the math. I screwed up the math in my own line.
Yeah.
Somehow.
He was gonna underpay himself, but that's not fair.
What was that number again?
38,660.24.
650.24.
660.24.
So the difference could be special.
Yeah.
It's spelled out on page 5, actually.
So it's gonna be
Page 5 is correct.
Page 5 is correct.
Oh, okay. So all right. So you get $702.78.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Are the bottom ones
702.
correct?
Page
78.
5 is correct.
And at the bottom of page 4, the call firefighters and
Yep.
EMTs? Okay, it's just the top one. Thank you.
All right. So biker Medicare is all adjusted based on the increases that we just talked about. New Hampshire retirement system last year, it was 29%, and it went up to 31% in July. So this represents, so the new number is $36,369.83, which is a $2,700 increase. So some of that is related to the increase in the full-time salary at $3,700, but some of it is the extra 2% for a full year of retirement system. All right. Training.
Hey, let me back up for a second, Mike. You just said the retirement was $3,700 more? That was
Retirement is $2,760.
27. I thought it was 37.
Yeah. So like I said, some of that increase is because of the increase in that salary
Right.
line,
I
some
guess.
is because of the increase in the percentage. Training stays the same at $6,800, so that pays for certifications through the fire academy or any of the classes that people attend. We're fortunate enough that we can go to a couple conferences. We just got back from, we were able to take 4 of us to Nashville to Firehouse Expo, which is a 4-day-long national fire symposium with several days of seminars. And then one of our paramedics just got back from an expo out west, where it was the same thing, but EMS related.
Well, year-to-date, it says you spent $1675.
Yeah, so that includes the conferences, the registration for the conferences, but it doesn't include the hotels yet. That's
So there's more, this needs to be updated.
Yep, there's, yeah, the bills haven't come in. There's at least $3,000 for travel expenses between the two of them. The other thing, we're fortunate there, several of our members are on multiple departments. So in the case of the Nashville Expo, we all paid for our own individual flights. The town of Milton picked up the tab for the hotel rooms, and the other departments picked up the tab for the actual registration for the conference. So we were able to bring more people for the amount of money we had budgeted. And then the same thing with the EMS Expo. He paid for his own hotel, we paid for the flight, and the other department paid for the conference itself.
Yeah, that'll be critical, but fire hose symposium, that doesn't sound terribly necessary, is it?
Well, yeah, as officers, there's standards, we have to have continuing education, and that's one of the ways to get it. It's 4 days worth of seminars.
At a cost of, again?
A couple $1,000. Like I said, it was split, so if we were to pay for that whole thing, it would be a lot more than that. And then there's money set aside if we were to bring an outside instructor. So if we wanted to do a full day of ice rescue training, for example, that could cost up to $800 if we brought several instructors in to go through the whole program. The next page is the breakdown of that's the New Hampshire Fire Academy cost for classes. If we were to pick some of these. These aren't necessarily all classes we would do, just that's their price breakdown.
Well, it has affiliated and non-affiliated. Can I assume that we're affiliated?
We are, yeah. We're a municipality. If somebody wasn't part of a fire department and they wanted to go get certified to be a firefighter, they would pay the non-affiliated rate.
And these costs here are for the course itself, it's not for the other additional costs associated, correct? That's just for the course itself.
That's for the course of the New Hampshire Fire Academy. Yeah. All right, employee testing, it's going from $166 to $200. That just covers the cost of the background checks for new hires. $48 a piece, and there's 4 of them.
Year to date, so far, you've spent $313 this year?
Yes, full-time employees have to have a medical screening, so the medical screening was charged to that line. And I talked about that in my little write-up here, that it's not required, but it's something in the future we should be doing, is medical screening for all of our members. But $384 times 40 would be a substantial cost.
Yeah.
If it's not something we do proactively, it's something that'll probably be forced on us in the future. All right. The next line is uniforms and gear. So that's fire department duty uniforms and our personal protective equipment. That went up $5,350. So there's 2 driving costs for that. The first is the gear we buy 5 sets of gear a year, historically. It went up $500. The second page after that is the new quote. So you can see right there, 2 sets is now $5,000. It was $2,000 a set last year. There's a few factors that went into that. the material that we were buying, they no longer manufacture, so the new material was a little bit more expensive, plus the overall increase in cost year over year. So that's $2,500 of the increase. The other $2,500 is looking through the gear in the station. We're a little bit behind, so I added an extra set, which is another $2,500. So instead of 5, there's now 6 sets of gear in the budget. Any questions on that?
Have we tried going direct, I can't remember the name of that company up in,
Pittsfield?
yeah.
Yeah, we have to buy it through a distributor, which is in Epsom, but we do buy it from that company. Contracted services. So that went from 14,800 to 16,946, so an increase of $2,146. And if you look at page 10, it shows the lines that increased. OVMA is the Ospey Valley Mutual Aid Association. That's the dues to belong to the association. We have to belong to that association to be dispatched by Carroll County. Plus we get other services. They pay for some of our training. They host regional trainings. And technically you have to be part of a mutual aid to receive mutual aid. And there is not a mutual aid in Stratford County. There's the Seacoast Chiefs Association. That's substantially more money, and there's Lakes Region, which is substantially more money. So that went up $1,000. Lenhart System, that's our backup. We were backing up my computer and another computer when we moved to the new station. Now we're just backing up the server. So it's $155 a year to back up the server. I think we use Crash Pro. That sounds right.
So you're taking that $155 right out of the budget?
Yeah, there was 2. So
okay, so
it's $155 I'm keeping, but I'm taking out $155.
All right.
There was 3 something last year. Fire alarm monitoring. The post office box went up $28. Emergency reporting is our fire reporting and our data collection software. That went up for the first time since we joined them 5 years ago, $572. Our payroll system, it's $400 a year. We're doing it all online. It's all web-based now, whereas before it was on one single computer. And it's just a lot easier to manage it that way. We added Adobe Acrobat so we can do PDFs, which became a big help when I started doing all the POs through a PDF program, and I had to create that form, amongst many other things. So the NFPA subscription went up $40, and that equates to $2,064 increase.
Question. Now that you're walking distance from the UP, the Postal Service,
Yep.
and they deliver,
Yep.
is there a reason that I don't know of that you have to have a post office box that they can't just deliver to you?
I haven't looked into them delivering it to that station, but I will.
Because it,
Typically, the reason we have our own PO box is, well, we've had it forever, but we get medical stuff and HIPAA stuff in there, and it's just a lot easier to know that I have the only key, or there's only 2 keys, and we know what's coming and it's controlled and everything else. But I don't see, that would be the same thing if we had it dropped off, so I'll ask the question. I know packets is dropped off to Howard Mark, so.
I believe your summary notes that your 2 full-time employees work 12-hour opposing shifts,
Correct.
3 days on, 3 days off.
Yes.
That leaves Sunday as a spare not to have mail delivered.
3 days on, 3 days off. It's actually an 8-day work week. So that's where the 42 hours instead of the 40 hours comes in.
So Monday through Saturday are never uncovered.
No, every day's covered. Monday through Saturday. Yeah, every day.
Mhm.
I had to think about what you were saying.
From 8
6 to 6.
a.m. until 5:15.
Correct. Yeah, whenever the post up. Yeah, I gotcha.
Okay.
All right. So, electric. If you go, my electric.
May I just ask a question on that one? Because you've got 2146 contracted services on this sheet, Nick.
Yep.
But on page 10, it's 2064, 2064 variance. So I don't know what happened. It's like an $82 difference.
That's a great catch.
Number 10.
And I guess I'll have to look at the Excel sheet to see where the error actually calculated out to be.
Okay, this comes up to 2064. Yeah, it is 2146 here. Yeah. Okay.
16946.
I think 2146 is the correct number.
Right, so do I. But I'm just wondering where the $82 are,
Ah, boy.
or where the $82 error is.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'll go back and look at it.
Okay, thank you.
I'm guessing the 2146 is the correct variance though, right?
I will take that, but,
All right.
sorry.
That's all right. All right. Electric. So on page 12, for some reason building maintenance got put into page 11, but we'll get to that later. I put all the bills for the last, well, through August in, averaged it all out, and I came up with just under 15,000. So that's a pretty significant increase of $7,000. This year will probably be over even more than that because we paid for January, February, March at the old station before the power got shut off. So that's one of the things I'm trying to overcome in this year's budget. So, any questions on that?
Well, year to date, we're at $12,082.
Yep.
As of today.
So does that mean my averages and my 15,000 looks right to you, or do you think I'm off?
Don't know how much you're gonna use now that, darker out.
I don't think it's the lights that are driving the cost.
Okay, then what is it?
I think it's the HVAC system and the pumps and all that stuff.
Whereas you did not have AC in the whole building.
We had 2 window units, but we didn't have the positive pressure system and the Plimo vent. The motor, every time the exhaust extraction system kicks on, it's a I don't know electrical, but it's a big motor. It's not 110, I can tell you that. And every time the trucks go out, that runs for 3 or 4 minutes to exhaust everything.
Do you have 3-phase?
Yeah.
So you don't have the, because of the load, you don't have the capacity for an easy start, electronically controlled. I never asked.
Not an electrician. Don't know. Heat, I did the same thing. I ran all the numbers for what we've done so far, and I'm comfortable keeping it at $8,500. And again, we heated the old station for the majority of the winter. When I averaged it out, it came to 75, but I think we'll have to, I'm more comfortable leaving it because we don't have October, November, December figures yet for the new station. And if I'm wrong and it's more in those months, we'll revisit this next year. So water, 1950 to 3,000, that's a $1,050 increase. I put each bill in there, so there's a couple things. We had first couple months in the station, we had to fill the cistern. That was 26,000 gallons. Then they had to test the fire sprinkler system, so a lot of that got emptied, so there's another 13,000 put in. Then the second and third quarter, there was the
New grass seed.
so that'll get cut back next year. So we were running high, but I think 3,000 should cover it, and again, we'll reevaluate next year. The trucks are getting washed a lot more. There's a lot more going on up there.
How do you handle the water that is washed off the trucks inside the building? Goes into a sump and it becomes hazardous?
Yeah, not really.
Technically,
Technically, but goes through a filter system and goes into a tank.
So it's light gray.
Yeah.
Yeah, as opposed to a black
Correct.
water. So it does not have to be specially tanked and disposed?
No. Hydrant fees. So Stan can contest to this. It's $48.30, which is an increase of $630. That increase was from 2 years ago, Stan?
I can't say exactly, because
But it was
we did give you a
after-
credit back on 1 year and
It was
stuff.
after last year's budget, so it didn't get in.
Yeah.
So what you see spent this year is the $48.30, and that wasn't increased this year, that was increased the year before, but it was like the end of the year, so it missed the budget season. So we're actually playing catch-up on that one, so that's a $630 increase to $48.30. Telephones, again on page 15, I broke all the monthly costs down per unit. So there's the phones at Central, which is 2 lines and a fax machine. Station 2 is just a single phone line. The ambulances have, there's 3 iPads and a hotspot. So the ambulance, the lead engine, my command vehicle have iPads, and then the ambulance has a hotspot for the transmission of EKGs that connects to the cardiac monitor. So figure all that out, it comes to $4,011. And then the internet is the other thing too. So the internet is new. We weren't paying for high-speed internet at the old station. So that's an extra $572. And then another $264 for a new hotspot for the second ambulance. We have a monitor now that's capable of transmitting EKGs for the ambulance that's coming here shortly, which we didn't have before. So, with all that being said, $4,400 covers the telephones, the internet, the hotspots.
So do you know if the phone system at the new station is that voice over IP or a typical?
Voice over IP.
Do you know the company that you use for that?
Yes. They're out of the town north of Portland. And if you ask me in 10 minutes, I'll be able to tell you.
A lot of towns north of Portland.
Yeah. I'm drawing a blank. I know what it is.
Yeah, that's, you're right.
One of the bigger towns right up, the next town with
Sure.
Falmouth or something like that.
Yeah, I just would question that, just knowing that there's a lot of voice over IP systems out there that are pretty cheap and they work really, really well.
So this phone price is through First Light, which is the same company the town uses. The company we bought the phone system from is the company out of Portland. So we don't pay anything to them, that was just an install. Purchase the phones, the install, the server, and then we pay monthly fees to the same company that we use here in town. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I'm just saying that there might be like less expensive options. Not sure how much it would save. It might be $500-600, but
Every little bit counts. So after phones, public education, that stays at $600. That pays for, during fire prevention week, we go to the schools, we have a packet for the kids, coloring book, crayons, fire safety messages, or any CPR training that we do. And then we had a little wildland fire safety things we handed out at the Woods Water and Wildlife Festival this year.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll do it again next year.
Thank you.
All right. Printing. So I never had a postage line. I started charging postage to the printing line when that when they came back to the departments. So if you look at the first quarter, second quarter on page 16, that's the printing consumable costs for our printer at the station. Then department documents, that's letterhead, business cards, that type of stuff, envelopes, and Christmas cards. So I came up with $410, but we'll just call it $400. So that's that. That's an increase, like I said, of $200. So supplies, I'm going to leave it at $4,500. I know it's over this year, but we ended up purchasing a lot of things, one-time purchases for the new station. Stock our cleaning supplies, stock our paper towels the first time. But if you look at page 17, that's a breakdown of everything that I've purchased as of September of this year. And then if you look at the next page.
Yeah, we'll go back to that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is there any reason why you have the Speedy Dry split into two different places? 5 bags on top and 6 bags down bottom?
I bought it more than once. We used 5 bags. I bought 6 more.
Oh, so you just didn't lump sum it together?
No. No. This is my running Excel sheet that I keep to balance the town expenditure report. And there's probably errors and spelling and all kinds of problems, but it's literally raw off my computer.
Larry will let you know.
I'm sure he will.
You caught him, there goes your rubrification.
One thing I noticed you got coffee filters, but you don't have any coffee listed.
Yeah, they buy their own coffee.
Okay.
I was feeling generous and
We
bought
can only
coffee.
we can only afford the filters.
Okay. I was just checking. Well, light coffee. Okay.
Coffee is very expensive.
Yeah.
But I'd really like to see,
So like a,
the set, we got it broken down here, but what I'd like to see is a breakdown on books.
so instead of 620, you want 620, 621, 622. So cleaning supplies, station supplies.
Either that, yeah, station versus consumables, yes. You know, there's quite a difference, say, between, where was it,
Not much.
620. Quite a difference between replacement filters for a vehicle exhaust extraction system versus Ajax for the toilet.
Yep.
Or whatever.
Yep.
There's quite a difference there. So I'd like to be able to see it. So, okay, the fire chief has $2,000 worth of consumables and $2,000 worth of fire station supplies. And likewise for the PD and likewise for public works. That way, when it comes down to this point in season, we know that the town spends $12,000 on consumable supplies.
And if you go, there's page 18, and then I put an insert, so it doesn't have a page number, so it's not 19, but it's not 18.
What?
That's the breakdown of our pulp and paper order, which
Do
is
the
our.
extra soft toilet paper.
Is
Can we go just regular, not to be extra soft?
Yeah, 2-ply, yeah. 4
2
something.
ply.
The,
Worth
You
every
want
penny.
1,000 sheets?
no, the,
So we
Mega
spent
rolls.
$1,300 as of whatever date this was, sometime in September probably.
gentlemen, okay. The answer is that when it comes to the Ajax, we're dealing with different extraction systems. The one question on page 18, the diesel emission fluid
Yeah.
for $100. Every time there is a discussion about the DEF, I think it's called,
Yeah.
the extraordinary costs of adding that to the operating systems of diesel trucks comes up. $100 seems like a bargain.
I don't rack up the mileage like.
He's gone.
He's gone.
Well, DPW.
Oh.
Yeah, we don't. If you look at my fuel line is $6,000 for diesel vehicles versus his is 20-something thousand?
For diesel,
Yeah,
Yeah.
last year it was 47.
40,000, so I'm not spending nearly as much.
On a ratio, like, your two-cycle engines, 40, how much DEF is used per gallon of diesel?
There's no set rate, it's all
It's-
performance,
It's, okay, so it varies according to the load and
RPM.
I go through, let me do some quick math here. I get approximately 50 gallons a day, 5 days a week, so that's 250 gallons, and I'll end up getting maybe 10 gallons worth of DEF. So that figures out real quick with math.
So,
It's about 250 to
yeah,
25
25 to 1.
Yeah, 25 to 1. Yep, okay, thank
If
you.
you got a heavy foot.
I got to be tomorrow for it.
Okay,
Did you find-
Nick,
Yes.
just quickly, I'm looking at the expenses so far, and you've spent 7,000 in supplies. It is
Yeah.
supplies, right? Right.
I bought extra soft toilet paper.
That was the 3-ply?
I'd have to get my.
Well, that was the
computer-
explanation he gave, but that when the new station opened up, he had to buy one-time events.
Right.
You know what I mean, so.
So as of,
All right. They
When I
didn't
put
carry
this
the toilet
together-
paper from the old station to the new?
Well, not used anyway.
Well, I hope not used.
Ladies, gentlemen,
There was equipment up there, you had to buy appliances.
yeah, that was all in part of the budget. There was other stuff. I don't know, I had $4,500 when I last updated this and looked through it. I'd have to go see what the other 3,000 is. It might
Alright.
have been,
Yeah, my question is just, is the
Well-
4,500 enough if you already spent 7,000?
let me look real quick. What's the supplies number?
422, 620.
620. I got it right there. Okay, so I think there's at least $1,200 that I wrote the wrong account number, and there's an electric bill included in that.
Okay.
And other than that, I think the difference would be, there's one other charge I see that's wrong. I thought that it was corrected, but I don't see the credit yet. So
Okay.
then,
it's about, if you take $1,500 off of there, it's about right, plus the increase in the
So-
first of the year.
More-
Okay, all
more
right, good, thank you.
yeah, more seriously, you will be checking those exact figures with Heather so that when the selectmen review the budget, those detail errors will be corrected, and when you see the final budget for the department, it will be the agreement of all details corrected.
Yes.
Yep, good.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Dave.
What's that?
I just looked.
Yeah. So where are we at here? Postage. So, like I said, I had it in the printing line, I pulled it out to create a postage line, and I put $50 in there. That gives us enough to mail 100 different items. A year ago, I would say we'd never mail 100 things, but we started sending letters out to people with delinquent ambulance bills, so that they were personalized coming from us, instead of the ambulance billing company or the collections company, just to make, it seemed like a lot of people get a collection letter and they toss it. Whereas if they get something with fire department letterhead on it, they might actually read it, and then it doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna change anything, but at least we put a good faith effort into it.
It has actually changed something.
Yeah,
It has helped.
we at least paid for the postage that we sent out.
Yeah.
But everybody that had past due bills got a personal letter from the department this year to try to clean it up. The other thing too, is not really related to this, but since we're on it, we switched billing companies about a month ago. There was an RFP that went out with the Seacoast area fire departments, and we jumped on board with it. And it's supposedly a much better deal for us, and a much better return on our investment, or on our collection rate. So, we've been with them for a month now, and that's to be determined in the future.
To interrupt, my apology, did not introduce a person speaking from, with his back to you, Andy Rawson of the Board of Selectmen, Ryan Thibodeau, and Heather Thibodeau, Town Administrator. I'm sorry, I'll get it right yet. Not everybody can be Larry Brown.
Thank God.
It has been noted. Want to say your own name?
Thibodeau.
Thibodeau.
Two syllables.
Like Tim.
Just think T-E-B-O.
And you're an English major.
No, that's why I don't teach. Thibodeau. Okay. What happened to the H? Anyway, all present and accounted for. More of the department heads are all the way in the back row. Sorry to interrupt. Continue, please.
Vehicle fuel, I'm leaving the same at $27.50. I ran the averages, and it came out to a little bit less than that, but it was a really low numbers during the summer, which I think were an anomaly. So I'm going to leave it at $27.50. If it actually ends up being less next year, then we'll make the adjustment. Diesel fuel, I'm going to leave the same. It comes out to, when you run the averages, $5,700. The October bill is actually $580 something, which was on the high side of the year. So I think that the extra few $100 more than what the average is, and leave it at $6,000 will be fine. Building maintenance, we had $1,000 in there last year with anticipation of the new station. I bumped it up to $1,995. Granted, public buildings takes care of most of the needs of the fire station, but there's some things that I would just like to be able to call and take care of. And I believe it's directly related to the building. So the sprinkler system and its maintenance, what else did I have in here? That's that thing that I said was way back at the beginning.
You have the ventilation and clamp-on system for the exhaust systems, which requires certification and filter changing.
Correct. So that type of stuff is what I was including in building maintenance. Pat still takes care of the boilers, the furnaces, the HVAC, that type of stuff. The pest control is all included in government buildings, so. Vehicle maintenance. So that's another one. The last 2 or 3 years, we've spent substantially more than we budgeted. But there was some cost that I hope to not repeat regularly. So 2 years ago, it was engine 3. It needed an exhaust. Something else. It was pricey. And then the last 2 years, it was pistons on the ladder truck. So if you look at the 17 and 16 maintenance costs, 50% of the maintenance costs were driven by the ladder truck. And then 16 was we split 16, so half of that, the repairs on engine 3 were done in 15, and the other half was done in January of 16, because we were out of money. But that just kind of breaks it down by vehicle. And my little chart shows the mandated testing versus the unanticipated or unexpected type stuff, and how much some of that will cost. But we're at 20 grand this year. And again, I have a breakdown from my Excel sheet that I keep track of stuff, what some of those costs were.
Just spent $2,500 on the ambulance,
Yeah,
right?
2,500 on something in the motor on the oldest ambulance, and then we spent 1,200 on the EGR valve in the Forester, which is 2012. again, the trends, like, I'd like to say I'd take $20,000, but my hope is that we can do it with 14, but I've been wrong 2 or 3 years in a row, so. Equipment maintenance.
So, anything more on vehicle maintenance? That's, next. Yes, please.
Equipment maintenance is gonna stay the same. Again, the first chart is my expenditures to date, and the second chart is kind of the way I break the budget up and what I plan on spending. What I plan on spending doesn't usually match what actually breaks and costs money. But, any questions on that? It's the same. I think the expenditure, Stan, if you're looking at that, is a little bit more.
I'm not looking at it, but.
Okay. That's
I
fine.
am.
I was actually still going over something you said about the EGR valve. I thought that with the emissions, it was a federal law that the manufacturer had to honor that to like 100,000 or something, miles or something.
Boy, we called Ford, we talked, weren't you here when I brought that up to the selectmen?
Yeah.
Well, you were, right? Somebody asked.
No, I was, yeah.
Somebody asked me to look into it, and we already had it in process, and the dealership didn't help us, and we called Ford, and we didn't get anywhere with them.
Which level Ford? Area zone or full Ford Central?
Mr. Ford.
Mr. Ford, yeah.
He's Jeffrey Clay Ford is still there.
I delegated, I don't know exactly where they talked.
Yeah, I looked into that after Stan mentioned it at the meeting, and I believe one of the differences is commercial versus personal use vehicle. The fire department would be commercial vehicle use versus personal, and I think commercial is 36,000 miles, and personal, for some emissions components, are 100,000. And it also depends, varies by state as to how it's enforced.
Well, the unfortunate part is only 5,000 or 6,000 miles on the vehicle, but it's 5 years old. But the person that I had call is very, very persistent, and he didn't get anywhere. More persistent than I would have been, I can tell you that. My wife? No, the person that called was worse than her. Yeah.
So that gives the answer for the costs on vehicle equipment. Where do you wish to be on what line?
We'll go to equipment purchase, which is going to stay the same at $16,500.
Can you explain what the master steam device is?
Stream. Yeah, it's a station.
Is it steam?
There's an R missing.
Okay, that's a stream, but anyway, I still don't know what it is.
We call it a ground monitor, so it hooks up to a large diameter hose, and it's a stationary device for large fires.
And it does,
Puts water on the fire.
so
Instead of holding a nozzle,
so it's not,
it's a ground monitor. It sits in the ground. It's
so
stationary.
it's an unmanned.
Unmanned. Yeah. That's been on my list for like 5 years. We just haven't had the money to buy it yet. And the other thing, we're still trying to buy the 4 intros. That was the reason this budget went up a few years ago. We were going to buy it over several years. We bought the first year. We haven't actually gotten to the additional years yet, so that remains. Okay. Equipment lease stays the same. So that's our copier, fax machine. That's $105 a month, and that's the actual lease of the copy machine. And then the contract is the $272. So a total of $1,532. So the contract goes to Seacoast Business Machine, and the lease goes to Leaf. Seacoast Business Machine takes care of the maintenance and the black and white ink, I believe, and then the lease pays for the device itself.
So how many faxes do you get, let's say, in a week?
Every time we get a call, every time we do a call, dispatch sends our times in our log down to us, so over 800 a year.
Over 800 a year?
Yeah,
Okay.
faxes.
Then you copy a lot of stuff or no?
Yeah, because every time I do a purchase order or invoice, I have to make a copy of it. And then all the computers in the entire station are printed to that one, so we don't have any individual desktop printers. They're all.
And just to emphasize that, you called it, I think, fax cost, that printout of the time, date, and equipment and personnel of the call are a subpoenable record for due diligence, are they not?
Probably. All that information has to go into our reporting software, which is reported to the state, which they report to the Fire Academy,
Yeah. So
National Fire Academy.
if there were a lawsuit coming out of an accident, that document could be called for in support of whoever the plaintiff.
All the, yeah, we'd have to go back to, we don't keep them. Once the information goes into our software, it
Yeah,
goes.
good, okay.
But we can retrieve it through the dispatch center if we need it. Yeah, anyway, police mileage and travel, we don't have anything miscellaneous, we have $1. And then EMS on call, or it used to be called the per diem line, that's the $26,000. The station staff, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And at night, 2 people go on call from home, they get paid $4 an hour to be on call from home. So if every shift was filled, it would come to $35,000. However, not every shift gets filled every single night. We usually end up covering it with the $26,000, or if we go a little bit over, I end up finding it somewhere else. Try not to increase that. And if we're fortunate enough that every shift gets filled, we could always charge it to the revolving account if it became a problem. The first chart I had on the second page just kind of broke down the budget. So 70% is the personnel costs, and then 8% is utilities, and everything else is small increments. But the increases, as you can see, 47% was personnel costs. Only 3% was directly related to the new station. And then a big chunk of it was the utility, meaning the electric for the new station. 22% of the total increase this year. And then 8% was new requests, which the only new request that wasn't a utility or anything like that was that extra set of gear that I had asked for. So I came up with $443,437.49.
Last comments, question, Peg?
Yeah, just looking at your original with that $443 and, no, whatever. $443,437.49
Yep.
does not include your increase that,
Correct.
yep,
The error or the FICA that's going to adjust.
and the FICA and the New Hampshire retirement.
New
If
Hampshire retirement won't change.
you don't work enough hours, I'm sorry. But FICA and Medicare,
Correct, that'll change.
okay, all right, thank you. And then you're gonna check in the contracted services, that difference.
Yep.
Okay. All right, thank you, Nick.
And then there's other information in the back of the packets that I won't take the time tonight to go over, but if you have questions on it, you're welcome to ask me or
Oh,
now
wow.
or later.
Well, we're gonna go with the ambulance as a part of the fire
Yeah,
department next, or is that?
Hey, Nick, I have to
Well-
ask.
It is 8 o'clock. We have been here for two hours. That the chair is calling a 5-minute recess for him at least, if no one else, as I need to find out whether I can still be vertical. Stan, you had a comment?
No, I'm just gonna ask if we're going to the ambulance, that's all.
At 8:04, certainly.
Okay.
This versus this. You got copy page 4 pages, 5 pages, cost of this, the binder, the 3-ring binder, and the fancy stuff. I'm just curious, how much of a difference it costs?
What versus?
For the presentation?
Presentation.
How much does it cost to make all those?
Yeah.
Well, the binders are $20
For
for the whole lot of them. I don't know, I couldn't tell you.
Right. I'd ask.
7 cents a copy. How many color copies are in? Maybe 7? I think it's 7 cents.
The only difference in reality would be the binder.
No, I know.
I mean, because you're still gonna want the backup material.
I know, it's very trivial, but trivial things add up and you add them up.
Well, you guys asked for a lot of detail and you wanted a breakdown, so I don't know.
I'll tell you what, I make a motion that we give back the binders for next year. What do you think? What?
I'll need it
Yeah, the first batch were.
Yeah, at the end of the budget season, we can give them back the binders.
Yes, absolutely.
5 minutes, he said. 4 minutes left.
Chew the stuff.
Agenda is
Here.
right there. Assessing emergency management.
Welfare and library.
You're one of the better shots.
She is a better shot.
Do we want
Which is why you're not up with 34.
I know, I was gonna say, do you want to do the library? Yeah, so what? I have to
I can beat up on all of
These two.
Yeah, they
Yeah, I
are.
didn't think we had them both on the same one.
I answered.
That's all right.
Me too, I was being pokey.
Thank you, Michelle.
There's coffee and cookies on there.
Oh,
And they're healthy cookies or chocolate with peanut butter.
oh.
Good ones stick together. Good night.
Thought so. Thought so.
Personal car, so I could go try to go hunting.
Okay, looking for,
Oh, yes.
oh, library, there we go.
Chocolate in it.
I actually had a full day today.
No, you
In the woods all day. I was not to work. I'm on the deer. I just have.
Next time I'll make
Unlike
blueberry
her, I
sour
don't
cream
have the
coffee.
ability to share my rice.
Sour cream, medium nutty. Nothing with lactose in it. It's a sad day.
I'll leave the sour cream out here.
I know.
I might borrow the tree with my phone. She would have read one. It's yours.
There's coffee.
I think your stand was.
I'm gonna try a cup of coffee.
Bob looks like he can use a cup. You look like you can use a cup of coffee.
I got you. I got what you're saying. Deep
I look through it a couple times, like, because sometimes I miss it, because sometimes it goes to show me at the top and it only shows at the bottom, so.
Not everybody knows.
Did she tell you that she got to talk to me about it?
So, I'll stick with it.
There's plenty of coffee left, yeah.
I know, I used to
I got crumbly.
You know what the secret is? It just barely needs to start to boil. I know, because I made a batch the other night, but I got distracted because I have squirrel syndrome sometimes. I've got a bunch of projects to do.
Oh, yeah.
And they came out, they were crumbly. But I called my son, he had me make them for him for work, and I called him up and I'm like, they're a little crumbly. He says, they don't care.
Also found the, whether I use butter or margarine, makes a difference.
I like the
I haven't
butter.
figured out how to use margarine.
Yeah, I like
They
the
always
butter.
come out flat. Typically, margarine.
I think there's more like,
Yeah.
I have a recorder too that I use at the board at the school board meeting, so.
I was gonna make jambalaya. I was like,
So I'll do that. When you need them,
Sorry, Sid.
I haven't been home.
No, it's typically portable.
We're down to one car right now while I'm looking at the truck. We had my wife, I'm late, we had a dog next year. So our dog got in the truck and take one off the vet. $60 later.
Yeah, and so, like I know with the board meetings, I
Just before she was leave, she got the call from the vet, oh, come pick the dog up.
Otherwise, it would've been a lot more if they'd kept her overnight.
Oh, I was like, oh. Then he's gotta go back on Friday. Whatever they do.
Yeah. See, you haven't dropped dead yet. Just wait.
Oh, it's good, yeah, honey. I have a long ways to go.
Here, once again, it's really too bad.
It's really too bad.
No, because board meetings are
Oh, yeah, that.
every
Nasty.
other Wednesday. And this is
Tell the girls in the office, I'm not to see them.
If he said he was good, he would say he's conceded, but if he said he wasn't, it was wrong, right?
It doesn't matter as long as I have a phone.
5 minutes has ended. Please grab your cookie.
Oh, no.
And also, who do we thank for the cookies and the coffee? Aaron, the coffee is yours too. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron.
Next time, decaf, please.
Yes. Anything for you,
guy.
Okay.
Or not. He's gonna get a separate cup.
Then, the same summary comment for the fire department presentation as for the police department presentation and any coming up is that we seem to be in agreement to the presentation costs, some suggestions for detailed development of supplies cost by type of supply and what they're used for as just run-of-the-mill ordinary or specialized to the department, and that the number will come back to us with the help of the department head, the town administrator, and the board of selectmen to give us a final budget when we are done discussing all departments. Next up would be
Ambulance is part of the fire department.
ambulance as part of the fire department.
So just a
You're up again.
point of order, I
Sure.
guess. I provided the information for the ambulance, but it is not a budgeted item. This is revolving account information. So I can run through it real quick for informational purposes, but it's not privy to the budget committee at this point.
I'm sorry, say it again slower. That,
The ambulance information that I provided for your information, so you know where that money was being spent.
Okay, then,
But it's not a budgeted item. It's a revolving account.
Part of the budget.
then.
It is and it isn't, because we do have authority over how money, not authority, but see how money is spent.
Then,
That's why I provided it, but I don't think we need to
When-
go over in detail in the essence of time.
another
Unless you want to.
Yeah, okay, and, let me try to think. When the public hearing comes up, there will be an opportunity for anyone in the public to ask about any part of the budget which is being presented and the expenditures for what they always call the ensuing year. If from any review as information necessary to our own consideration, we have the next meeting with the town to bring up a question on the revolving accounts from any department. Unless someone wants to review that.
I'd like to know if there's any increase over 2017, but, you know,
Okay.
what was allocated, I shouldn't say
Yeah.
budget, but.
So I'll give you the real quick summary.
Nice.
We bring in roughly $160,000 a year. We spend roughly $110,000. The majority of that is salaries to pay for the other person from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So there's a full-time person that we budgeted for. Then their partner on the ambulance is paid for out of the revolving account. So that's about $96,000. And then there's another 10 $100,000 supplies.
We got 133,960 here.
Yeah, total is what we spend, and we bring in about 160, we're creeping
Okay,
higher.
how is that compared to the year, this year here?
So if you go to page 28, income versus expenses. So as you can see, 2014, 2015, we were breaking even. And then 2016, we made, I don't have the numbers hard in front of me, but like $30,000, $40,000. 2017, operating expenses were on the right track, but we had the ambulance, the monitor, and the stretcher that all went into that this year. That's why the operating expenses are, or the capital expenses are.
But this year, your projected expenses for 2018. What was the projected expenses for 2017? Do you have that?
Similar. I don't have it. It was similar.
That's what I'm saying, that what
Yeah.
the projection increase would be. Even though it's not in the budget.
Yeah. So I can tell you what we spent last year.
Well, let's try this way. Summary, the revolving account is doing its job. These are our question statements. Is
Yes.
doing its job.
Yes.
That it does not, because it is working, it does not represent a present tax load on the town budget, and monies in it are being set aside for, fill in the blank for me, its final, its
An ambulance
purposes.
purchase in 6 years.
Ambulance
with another-
purchase in 6 years.
and
At which
equipment.
time you expect that fund to be at a usable total of
Hopefully around $300,000.
$300,000. Okay, thank you.
Because if year-to-date, you've spent 155,998.70.
That includes a lot of those capital expenses.
Right, they said, yeah.
And
Stretcher and the monitor in there at about $40,000.
Yeah.
Stretchers are now up to what, 22,000?
Yes. Yeah. And if you look at 14 and 15 on that chart, we were just breaking even. That's because we invested in making it a paramedic service, which cost us quite a bit of money. And then the return on that investment was 16 and 17.
Dennis, did
Making
you,
more, making more.
did you have a question? Okay. Does that answer any concerns the rest of the budget committee has? So we can leave the ambulance revolving fund, and if I could find my,
You're assessing this, but we have 55 minutes, so I have 50 minutes. Do you feel that we're going to get to everything, or should we prioritize what we're going to listen to tonight?
let's try the, my thought is that emergency management should be a 25 words or less. Is that?
Yes.
I don't mean to be unfair to you, but is that?
Perfect.
Speak.
Ready?
Take 26.
Same as last year, I added the repeater tower for $1,000 for electricity.
And in Stan's phrase, this represents an increase of how much and a percentage of?
$1,000, and I can tell you how much.
Okay.
Who is the emergency manager? You guys know that?
Okay. And so we have police, we have fire, and that takes care of emergency management. We have the,
Assessing that.
I will do assessing welfare and library in that order, because I think that the background material and the essential dryness of state mandates should make your presentation easy, if not palatable. So come on up. Try to find a comfortable chair. Yes, please. Would be Kathy Wallingford, who is the town assessor. What title are
She's
you?
assessing director.
Assessing director, thank you.
The first line is the salary for the assessing director. Kathy is a senior employee here for the town of Milton. She's been here 9 years? 10, sorry. And it includes, the proposed salary is for $41,916.58. It includes a 1.7 COLA and a 2% merit. for a total of 41,916.58. The difference is 1,495.37, and then the corresponding FICA and Medicare calculations. She's going to take it from here.
Okay. The next line item is going to be training. There's no increase, it's $150. Registry of Deeds, this is where we get our transfers to transfer our property records to keep them up to date. Recording deeds and other documents, I did increase that by $100. There was a change in the last couple of years down to the registry where the towns are being charged now for the transfer deeds. Legal notices, there's no change. I have $100 in that line item. My biggest increase is going to be in the software support. 2017, it was $2,050 because I was only paying for 1/2 year of the online assessing records, and this year I'll be paying for the full year, so that is an increase of $3,450.
Okay. Any, if you have a question, just ask.
Okay.
But continue.
Professional services, there's no increase. I have $1,000 in that line. We have to do an update annually. It's state mandated for any errors that we should find, any mergers, any lot line changes, or any subdivisions. The next line is contracted assessor. There's no increase in that line. There's $70,000 in that. That is to cover the cycle work that's done on a yearly basis and assessing contracted services that we need to fulfill the state requirements.
So that one right now, it says year-to-date you spent 52%-ish?
Right. I still have at least 4 more bills coming in on that.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep, thank you.
The next is going to be my printing. I reduced that by $50. Only possible need I might have would be some business cards. Everything else we have either started doing it ourselves, so creating our own forms, and that has worked out well. The supply line I have reduced by $100. I only asking for $400. That is for the ink cartridges, envelope stamps, and office supplies. The year before that, we were kind of estimating because a couple years back, everything for supplies was going under the town administrator's line, and we're breaking it out for different items now, and we had to get an adjustment made for that. So I have reduced that by $100. Postage has stayed the same at $600. Equipment maintenance I've reduced by $150, so I have a line item of $200 there. For equipment purchases, I have reduced that by $100, asking $300. The only thing I could possibly think I would need would be possibly a new printer. Mileage, only $50, no increase. That would strictly be used to go to a training or a conference. Assessing dues have not increased. I've reduced that down to $30, and I have $10 left in my line item for miscellaneous to keep it open. So I had an increase to the total budget of $4,725.98.
Can I back you up, just go back up to the contract assessor?
Yes.
Year-to-date, $36,356, and you have $70,000 budgeted.
Mm-hmm.
Is there bills still coming in that we haven't paid?
Yeah, I still have at least 4 months' worth of bills to go out.
Right, but I know you asked it that way, but the math don't seem right. Are they not billing us every month, or if you have 4 months?
I got October, November, December, and usually January is going to take in some of the services that were handled for January. One of the larger bills I'm going to have.
But what I'm saying is 8 months represented 36,000. You got 4 months going to represent almost the same amount.
It's not just divided into a 12-month bill.
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
Right, it's for the services that they do. It depends on what they're doing out there for either cycle work, data work. One of the things that's going to be coming in that we haven't paid for yet is because the update, there's a use cap that has to be done by the for the state. That is, there's an expense, considerable expense there. There will still be probably some more inspections done. We still have abatements to work on. So there is still quite a lot of the cycle left to do. And this area will take in more hours of their time than, say, 2 months out of, you know, whatever month you're looking at.
All right.
They vary. Some months it could only be 5,000. One month it could be 10,000.
Is there a differential cost for the service?
It depends on what they're doing and who I'm having in here. If I have a commercial appraiser in here, their charge per hour is going to be more than what I call a residential appraiser. It depends on the staff.
My apologies to my ear. I thought I heard you say use cap duty.
A use PAP report. When we do an update, the state requires us to produce, the contractor service is going to produce a use PAP report. It's an extremely large report that is showing how they did come up with the values and the techniques and the data that they use to come up with the values based on sales, building materials. Everything is taken into consideration to update our programs to calculate out to what the sales were representing.
And it is USE
A use PAP
PAP.
report. That is how the state refers to it.
Blessings. Next question, and Tom.
You've got and what was it? It was under supplies, and you said equipment purchase. Do you have your own printer? Is there a reason that you're not connected to the? I thought there was a network printer.
We have a network printer for large things, like when I'm running a warrant article. But I have a public computer out there where people can come sit down, print out copies. We do charge for them.
Oh, okay.
And
so they print on that, on a smaller printer for that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Then the selectmen may want to come in on this. My understanding is that we have been fortunate by virtue of the work put in that our, I'll call it equalization rate for lack of a better word, how our prices reflect what prices actually are. And so we do not get hammered on the state's decision that we are undercutting, my phrase, undercutting them. So our tax rate has now gone down to
25.89.
which represents $3.
A little bit less, it's a little bit more, not quite $3.11. We thought it was $3.11.
No.
But actually, our finance director made us go back there.
Oh.
That's encouraging.
better.
So what's the rate now?
It's $25.89. It is $25.89. It wasn't quite $3.11.
But unfortunately, the values of homes rose dramatically, the majority of the homes.
But the
Blame her.
so because of the but the state is content that with the review that we are doing, the rollover, the 5-year review, that they do not have any reason to make any assessments against our own judgments. So things are pretty solid.
what they did do was bring it, because we did an update, it was because our equalization was getting so far out that we did do the update. We are going to be ready to do every 5 years, the state mandates us to do a revaluation. And we usually do go with a 5-year cycle rather than do a 1-year annual update, which could cost you twice as much as what a 5-year cycle would.
So we are actually ahead of the ball.
In 2019, we'll be looking at a new revaluation.
So we are by spending the money we are ahead of the curve rather than trying to play catch up. Okay.
Right.
But
like I said, if we go down too low, the state will mandate us to tell us to do the update. We'll have no choice. And We did come and talk to the board and told them that what was happening, and we did do an update, which is based on sales and different factors that are taking place in the home industry, housing industry.
Questions from the committee? Again, the same question. Were there any corrections of math or detail that needed to be put on your budget so that when it comes back for our general vote of the number we have is the number we have? Okay. Then, any other questions? Am I correct in asking the committee that it is comfortable with the materials and backup presented? Okay. Then, standard. Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to the presentation of the Welfare Department. Danielle Marie, and your title is?
I am the...
Mrs. Marie, yeah.
Yes, Mrs. Marie. I'm the... yes, that too. The welfare...
What do you call it, officer? Or?
Sure.
Sure, okay. And thank you. Your presentation, same format. Just go down the expenses as you see them. Questions from the committee as something seems useful. Thank you. Please.
Danielle is part-time, so we start off with her salary line, and she's budgeted for 20 hours a week, so it's for half a year, and then with a COLA and merit increase of the 2% and then 1.7, that would make a increase of 18,538. What is what we're requesting for next year?
Increase?
Well,
I see a decrease.
it's technically a decrease because last year the person worked different hours.
Right, so in comparison to last year, there's a decrease. Last year was 20,946.
Mm-hmm. But it's a different setup, so. FICA and Medicaid function of that. Then Danielle's scheduling. It's going to take more time.
Yep. We are asking the training line to be brought up to 240 instead of last year's 200. We were never a part of the New Hampshire Local Welfare Administration Association. I want to utilize that. I want the training. I think it's very valuable to the position.
What does it train you for?
Laws affected to the...
It helps.
Exactly.
It protects the town. It gives her the training on the various laws. It also helps her to network so that if something's going on in one town, she knows what's going on with different clients. Keeps her on top of things so that we don't end up in a liability situation. We have different services that are available, but they have people come in and speak to her, speak to the group. It's once a month, so it's a very small fee once a month to go to these workshops, but then she knows what other services and resources are out there so that she can say, okay, well, you can go to community action for this service, or you can go to the state for that service. You're not going to come to the town. So it's providing her with resources that she can refer people out to and get them the best resources available for the community.
Now, one of the nice things that technology has done since, is it section 153, the duty to care for the indigent?
165.
165, I'm sorry, which is statewide and does not depend on residency. It depends on presence in the municipality. And one of the good things that technology does and what Danielle may be speaking to, I think, is having that easy network of contacts so that a person who is establishing their eligibility by travel can be tracked and benefits necessary but not redundant can be provided. So that's you're buying dollar bills at a discount for that. And I used to work for a welfare department when we had only a telephone line, and the Greyhound moved faster than we did. Next, I'm sorry.
The next line would be the electrical line. I have a request for the year of 7,000. The Board of Selectmen approved a decrease in that line to 6,000.
Okay, year-to-date, 1,400.
This is one of the lines that's based on client usage.
Right, so
I can't gauge what's going to come through my
that's
deal.
still quite a jump from 1,400 up
It
to
is.
6,000. When you have a little bit of history. You know, you haven't finished the year out yet, but
Correct, and this is the busiest season for
the next,
all aspects.
yeah, those
of
3 lines,
utilities.
that one and the next 2 lines, I have the same concerns about, you know, if you look at the year-to-dates.
Yep, this is the busiest time for all of those lines. It's colder, it's darker.
And it's also, a lot of the other programs are not available until after December or after January, so this is when she's gonna get hit. So that's why we're concerned about making sure the money is in there, because we know when we're gonna get hit. Fuel assistance, a lot of the discount programs aren't available until later on in the year.
Okay,
She
but
hasn't been here since, when did you start? September?
5th.
September 5th. So she's very short time, doesn't have a lot of history here. So that's why when you talk to the other welfare directors in the region, we need to make sure we have a pocket here.
okay, but I see, like I said, these 3 lines in a row. You know, one is 7,000, we spent 1,400. The next is 11,500, we spent $822. Then a rent is 35,000, we spent 4,600 year-to-date. I know you've lowered them, but, I mean, 4,600 and you're still looking for $25,000 for rent. The rent, I don't think we should change throughout the year, does it? I mean, is there a part of the year that makes a difference on rents?
It actually does.
Yeah.
Your assessment.
This is the hardest time is
The assessment for your taxes? Oh, okay.
taxes, holidays.
So, it's funny, but people will come in the wintertime.
And you
it
should
sounds-
understand taxes.
He said it, he said the taxes are going up.
People come in the wintertime, and it sounds terrible to say, but they will actually come in during this time of year and they'll say, oh, I had to provide something, you know, I paid for my fuel, I can't pay my rent. Or I paid for my kids' Christmas, I didn't pay my rent. And then, what do? You can't have them out in the street, so you end up with it. Okay, we'll pay 1 month's rent, but you gotta get a plan here. So this is the time when you do get hit. And unfortunately, we're in a situation where, you know, you have to budget for that. RSA 165 says that,
You have to provide 2.
Well, I understand that, but we also gotta,
so we gotta budget for it. I mean, we're kind of stuck. I mean,
you got a negative $15,000 in this budget, which I like. This is the first budget we've seen that it went that direction. And I'm just want answers, I'm not trying to beat you up on it, I just want answers why we saw such a discrepancy between year-to-date to
Peg? Hi, Peg.
the request amount.
Selectman Ryan can address
Well, that's good, that's a way to pass the buck, there you go.
comment.
The,
Yeah, go right ahead. Junior
We
slide
lowered
over
this
the
we lowered this budget $7,000. You know, the thing is, exactly what they were saying. I mean, we have to have some sort of buffer in here, because it is our obligation that we have to take care of, you know, any, you know, buddy who comes in who qualifies for any of these assistances. So we need to have the money there. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a bottom line budget, and what isn't spent will go back to the town. We all know that, but you know, at least it's there, and if we need it, you know, we're not going to come up short if we don't have it.
Well, my personal opinion is I've been a recipient of welfare, and I think welfare is the first and foremost high priority of local government, so I don't have a problem. If you guys wanna put $100,000 in for rent, put $100,000 in rent. It's not like Selectman Rawson just said, when it's not used, it turns right back into the general fund.
Tom?
I think something that might help alleviate the question Stan has is if we could go back and look, okay, what was our 2017 expenditures versus budgeted and 2016 expended versus budgeted, and that might alleviate the concern Stan has, where if he could,
I have
They're in all
all
of
the way
us.
back to 14. Sure. I have all the way back to 14 if you'd like.
Not as far as what was actual expenditures. You have what was budgeted.
I have a budget and actual all the way back from 14.
Yeah, but not in this
40.
paper is what I'm getting at.
Nope, I have it right here if you
All
like
right.
it.
Okay, so we are in the middle of discussion of basically the funds for electric, heat, rent, mortgage. We have not gotten quite down to food and medical. For several years, I worked for a welfare department at a time when elderly ladies on my caseload would call me Mr. Investigator because we came and went so fast that they were not about to learn the name of one more young kid who was trying to administer the old welfare system that grew out of the Depression. Time long gone, people still hurt, and one of the hardest things to get across in New Hampshire is good people fail. And not of their own choices.
Unfortunately, sometimes people, it's a health issue. It's like, you know, something happens. You don't know what can happen, so it has to be a safety net.
Thank you.
You know,
Anyone else wanna see this?
and you have to, you know, if you go back to since 2015 to now, I mean, we've dropped this budget, you know, almost $70,000. You know, so I think the welfare has done very, very well since I became selectman and a year before that. So, you know, I think at 66,000 at this where this budget is now, I think is a safe net. And I, you know, like I said, we've dropped these three lines, Stan, already $7,000, and I think that we should probably leave it.
Yeah, I mean, to echo what Dennis and Larry stated, especially as someone who actually has been homeless, it's kind of sad that this is the only one that's going down, and the rest of them are going up, some of them significantly. So, I have no problem with it.
Just for the record, you know, I wrote down what her data is here, and the rent is in line. I still see with the history that the electric and heat, but it's not dramatically out of line,
Comes back if it doesn't get spent.
hopefully.
It has, right?
No comment.
okay. That we are still working through the details of the presentation for the welfare department budget. We have 825, and I think we have done. Where would you like? What line would you like to be on, Matt?
We've kind of touched on electric, heat, and rent mortgage. So if you'd like to jump down to food, then we can do that.
That I think that would be useful because if you can give me the address and telephone number for the Wakefield food pantry, I will call them out loud and clear again from this microphone so people have access to them as a valuable community resource.
Yeah, that's not included amongst this budget, but the Wakefield Food Pantry is now partnership with us or collected us into their arms.
Have you learned their street address better than
I want to say it's 150, 153, 153.
It is, you go straight north past the townhouse, cross over the light on Route 17, head north up to Poor People's Pub, get off at the sign for the Wakefield Highway Department, and look for the food pantry building. They were here at last Selectmen's meeting for a presentation. They are set up on what sounds to be the most cordial and welcoming basis for people who qualify. Don't come to say hello. If you need help, come and bring all necessary materials with you. Do you have their telephone number?
I have it, yeah.
Okay. If somebody has a clever machine.
There are pamphlets outside my door,
okay,
as well as donation envelopes with their actual mailing address.
But anyway,
on it.
that is not part of Danielle's presentation, but the weather has changed dramatically. Thanksgiving is coming, and for some, cold Christmas. So, budget for food this year is?
We've requested $1,000.
So what does that do? Where you're referring to people in Wakefield, what does this $1,000 do?
If anyone comes in for, just for instance, for a Thanksgiving basket, we're not going to turn them away from food.
If a mother comes in and doesn't have food for their child right away, before they go get food stamps, we're gonna make sure they have voucher to go get some food. They need
Exactly.
immediate need to then go get food stamps. We can't send somebody without food in their house.
Sure.
It's just not appropriate.
It's not humane.
Then,
Okay.
food,
It's Larry.
and
You don't
next
have-
line would
Mr.
be.
Chair.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I have a question. I know at the selectmen's meeting, the food bank asked for a donation. And would that come from this line or
No.
someplace else?
Outside
Okay.
appropriation.
From outside appropriations.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just wanted to check.
Okay. You continue, I'm gonna go find a pamphlet.
The medical line would be $2,000. That covers any prescriptions, the life-sustaining prescriptions, not just anything. Of course, would require medical notification of that. And we're down to office supplies, a request of 300, sorry. I've never used $3,000 worth of supplies. Postage I have at $100. Equipment line would be at $200. Mileage at $100. And my miscellaneous line would be at $2,500, which includes the final expenses, including the clothing and such. And that's $75 per burial service.
That's $750.
$750 per burial service.
We have to pay for final expenses. If somebody dies and they're indigent, we have to pay for final expenses to pay for their finals.
Can you give me an explanation on the mileage?
Yeah,
Zero to date, and what would be?
The mileage would be just like any other department. If I was to take my personal vehicle for any use for trainings, to go up and visit the Wakefield Food Pantry,
You can't drive the town car?
if that's not available, and I put in for the mileage on my own vehicle, just like any other department.
this budget represents $15,052.70 less than the 2017 budget, which is a negative 18%.
And this is the Wakefield Food Pantry. It is located at 1500 Wakefield Road. They are open Wednesdays, 10 to 1 and 5 to 7. They can be reached at phone number 522-3094. You'll find a brochure describing their services out at Michelle's front office bins.
Which is better known as my office. But that's fine.
Right by hers, too.
Did I should say
That's fine.
Michelle, Danielle,
All right, let's get to the library.
tomato, tomato. Then, there may be further discussion on this, but there were, any details of math will be corrected for the selectmen's final presentation number. That brings us to the
Library.
I don't have a library one.
library.
Given to you last
You
week.
were talking last week?
Yes.
All right. Probably in here someplace then.
You want me to do my own introduction?
One second.
You know, Betsy.
I want to wait a second.
Sorry, go ahead.
The paper's shuffling.
Oh, okay. Yes. That, as Heather has successfully switched hats in giving introductions, I happen to be the chair for the library trustees, and I will just mentally switch hats and introduce Betsy Baker, who's the library director, who will be going through her budget for the upcoming year. You will find that the budget is reduced from last year. And I will leave it to Betsy to explain the savings. And I will just point out that if you have an $8,000 figure for media, books, DVDs, etc., and they are $10 a piece, and the cost goes up to $20 a piece, you have an $8,000 budget, and you buy half as much. Book publishing prices, sometimes library bindings are used so that the book is a long-term investment. Betsy.
Thank you, Larry. Before I get started, I want to make 2 points. Number one, the reason why I was able to bring my budget down is really all the work of Pat Smith, and I wanted to thank him for that. And I'll get into that in more detail. This is the second year that I brought my budget under what it was for the previous years, but still increasing salaries by the COLA and the merit increase possibility. But I am concerned that in future years, I am going to be coming before you and say, you know, I need to add $1,500 to my budget because I need to replace a computer, which I want to do one at a time rather than the whole shot. Or we need to put in new bookcases or what have you. And so, while I'm being as frugal as I possibly can, there will come a time when we will have to pay for it later. With that said,
Okay. To begin with, we start off with a part-time salary request of $29,786, which represents $1,104 increase over last year's budget for 1.7 COLA and a 2% merit increase for 6 part-time employees, 1 library director, 3 library assistants, and 2 pages. This figure represents the retention of capable and trained employees, the goal of the town for every department, and is tiered to the expansion of library services, which serve multiple community needs. I think the key word there is capable and retention. We're very fortunate to have Ms. Baker.
Thank you. Line 220 is the FICA reflecting the increases, and 225 is Medicare, also reflecting the increases. 340 is the contracted services line. I'm asking for that to be level funded. This is web hosting, website builder, our online catalog with the cataloging feature, the New Hampshire Downloadable Book Consortium, our fire alarm system, and our panic button. The custodial service line is to be eliminated, and we put in $1 to hold that line. Milton Buildings and Grounds has created a full-time cleaner, which actually benefits the library more, rather than have one cleaner every 2 weeks for an hour. That person will be available and will be able to come into Milton Mills and sweep floors on a more regular basis, that kind of thing. Our budget line 410 is the electric line, and that is level funded at $2,000. The heat line 420, I'm asking for a decrease of $2,000, and that is because Pat was able to get a good oil contract. I have a general idea of what my usage is, but the oil line, whether we spend $3.50 or $1.09 or what have you, that line will be different every year. This year we have a good contract. The telephone line, line 450, it remains level funded. We have 2 telephone lines, one for our telephone and fax machine and one that's dedicated to our fire alarm. Line
Excuse
6.
me, may I ask you a question about that?
Sure.
Do you have internet connectivity in that building?
Yes.
Okay.
MetroCast provides it.
Okay. Yeah, just the telephone, $900 for a landline or 2 is really expensive if you can get voice over IP, which can actually service fax machines.
That's what you were saying.
Yeah. So we could talk about it later if you want. We can maybe have some different options to see if it would work out for you, and maybe next year we could lower that
But
amount.
can that be used for the alarm system? Doesn't that have to be a landline?
It ends up being a phone jack. Whether or not you need like a actual landline to the outside is, I don't know. So we have that might be an option. So we'll
Thank you for that information.
Sure.
I'll look into it.
Trustee Brown, thanks you.
Line 620 is our office supplies. That is a level funding of $2,000. This line is for media processing, event food, craft supplies, toilet paper, paper towels, etc. Line 620, I'm asking for an $80 increase over last year's budget. This line had been primarily for certified mail for a long overdue material, but the Milton Mills Post Office is going to start charging us for our post office box next year.
Again, I don't know if you were here earlier when we were talking to the fire department, but is it necessary to have a post office box?
Yes.
They don't deliver there?
The reason why we're being charged is that
Not the charge, but they're even having it. Do they deliver to the street that the library's on, correct?
No, everything is delivered to the box.
So no one gets home delivery in Milton Mills?
I get home delivery at home. I can get delivery at the library, but the hours, that would mean increasing my hours, I guess is the answer to that. The hours are not open consistently when the carrier is around, is delivering the mail. Does that make sense, Dan?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, because some days you're not open, right?
Some days I'm not open.
And you don't want the mail to sit out there.
We'll open at 3:30 and the carrier is there at 11 in the morning.
Okay, so maybe it would be something as simple, and I don't know if they could do it, is put some kind of a box that he dumps it in and it goes inside the building, and it doesn't matter what time he delivers it.
That would be fine, except I do have a number of large packages that I get on a fairly regular basis.
It seems like we're getting the post office a lot of money, on town in general. You know, for boxes that may not be necessary, that's all. You may be necessary, I had to ask the question.
It's understandable.
Next.
Line 630, program supplies, that is all of our media, books, movies, music, etc. Line 741 is equipment purchases, and I have decreased that line by $250 to a $250 request. This line is for bookcases, chairs, rugs, desks, racks, etc. 744 is the technology line at $75. It's level funded. This is for additional hardware and software programs. Line 840 is our mileage and travel line, and this is level funded at $235. Line 850 is membership and dues. That is also level funded at $335. Line 890 is the miscellaneous line. That is $1, and I've decreased that. It used to be $50. I use this line for background checks. I've retained a really good staff, and then it's a leap of faith that I'm going to continue to have a great staff. So the request this year is $53,476, which is a decrease of $2,935.
Which is a negative 5.2%.
Question on the library report. Thank you, Madam Director. Question on the library report?
Yes.
Tom?
The current expenditure report shows your library and dues, membership and dues line, you're $10 over. So why wouldn't you increase that line to do you expect to not join something next year?
I don't have an answer for you.
It just seemed like if you spent $345 this year, and you're only budgeting $335 for next year, it sounds like maybe you're not joining something.
When we had that, didn't we have that conversation with Boris at the same line that you went to a conference that was further over this year?
No, that was mileage and travel.
Okay.
My mileage and travel line is going to be way over, but it's different places, different years for different conferences.
I guess what I'm suggesting is maybe increase that line to what you've currently expended, so that you don't go over next year.
I agree with you.
Take money. Any questions? That we have 4 minutes left. There was a request to table the minutes until next time out. Did you want to do that, Bob?
Danielle was gracious enough to help out. She sent me an email and she said she would do the minutes. She wasn't sure when she wasn't sure if she could get them done by Monday, but she did. She sent them to me. I sent it to the committee. My minutes are not done, and looking at hers and looking at what I've already done, hers is a lot better than mine. But I would have to ask the table because there may be something that some of the committee members may have missing in there, and we may have to readjust it. But for what she has is a lot smaller than mine.
Do you want the recommendations for Evers now, or do you want to table it with the recommendations too?
Hour is getting late, so it's up to you, Stan.
I would just like to make a motion that we table them until the next meeting because we just got them today. I've not even had a chance to review them, rather than spending a minute going over all the changes.
Second by Sean. Discussion in terms of draft minutes being presented so that the public can review the general sense of the work that we did in the previous meeting. That standard has been reached. Any other discussion? Motion to table the minutes until a date certain. Next, on the 21st.
Yes. The only thing is, I was just going to mention something. The thing is, I'm very grateful for what she did. I've changed mine several times, and it's nothing like what she has right there. That's very clean, more professional than mine. I'm going to continue to try and fix them up, but it will not look as good as hers.
Well, hopefully we'll get a recording secretary soon.
Okay.
On that same note, we do have one. Would you introduce yourself?
My name is Sherry Gazer. I work at New High School, the guidance office, and volunteering my services, or offering my services.
Not volunteering.
I'm not volunteering.
Bob's ecstatic.
Not really. I'll believe him if I can finish the year with this.
Well, you don't have to. She's going to do it.
We had this before, and they usually stay for a while, and all of a sudden they're gone.
Right now, she's doing it.
Thank you.
The Board of Selectmen have approved her services.
Should we vote on that motion?
Right?
Can we?
We haven't, but
we
will.
When's our next meeting?
May we move the three topics under discussion down to the one topic, which is the approval of the motion to table the minutes until our next meeting of the 21st.
Aye.
Aye. Now, before a motion to adjourn, then there is the general discussion of the availability of Sherry as the recording clerk for the minutes for the Budget Committee, which is an appointment which is at the executive authority of the Board of Selectmen. So my expectation is that by the 21st, the mechanisms will be in place for us to have you join us. Is that correct?
They can make a motion tonight. They're in session.
Yeah, they can make they have a motion to go
Okay.
to session. Why can't they?
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem. I've never even met her.
Nice to meet you.
I was at the school board meeting when she was taking the minutes, and I was satisfied with competency, accuracy, and goodwill. There is
I'll make a motion to hire
Sherry Gazer.
Sherry Gazer as to take minutes for the Budget Committee.
Second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Done.
Okay.
Hey,
Then,
motion to adjourn.
there is, the last business would be to, just by conversation, to thank the selectmen for their work in finding a replacement recording clerk, to thank the recording clerk for coming forward, to make sure she is at our next meeting, which will be at 6 p.m. on the 21st. And the last item of business will be only 3 minutes late, a motion by Stan to
Adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Stand up and leave. Thank you for
Dan, if
coming.
that binder isn't fit, I'll take it back.
I was just thinking that.
Yes.
The Board of Selectmen
What?
hasn't adjourned yet.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
a couple things we'd like to do.
Okay.
Do you want us to stay or leave?
May I sit and drink coffee?
Nick? You are going to have to change that next year.
All right, so we're back on. All right, so due to the fact that the town has not heard anything from Selectman Bolio at the last Board of Selectmen meeting, he was asked by several to resign. Our policy basically has been with the board to send all legal questions through our town administrator. Due to the sensitivity of what's going on here, I'm thinking that one of us should take lead on looking into court action to remove Selectman Bellevue from the Board of Selectmen due to the fact that there's a hostile work environment in the town hall and the possibility for future liability to the town.
And humiliation on
Yes.
his behalf.
Yes, so I guess I'd like to make a motion that I contact our town attorney this week to look into this, get his advice on how to move forward, potential cost, so we can have it to talk about at the next Board of Selectmen meeting.
I'll second that motion. All in
All right.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is
All
there
right.
any other business?
I think we're good, Heather. Yeah.
I think I'm just gonna file this with this other motion that you signed off on.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right,
So
yeah.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.